Hi, I'm Case Lowe, co-host of the Open the Voice Gate podcast. The one question I'm constantly asked when it comes to Dragon Gate is, how do I get into the promotion? Well, stop asking and start listening to the Open the Voice Gate podcast, released every Wednesday on the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. For exclusive news and show reviews, look no further than the leader in Dragon Gate coverage, Open the Voice Gate.
Hello there, my name's Neil David and I'm the host of Eurograps Express, the podcast exclusively dedicated to the wrestling of Europe. If it's wrestling and it happens in Europe and it's good, we talk about it. Whether it's Rev Pro, Progress, WXW, Passion Pro, Pro Wrestling Chaos, Pro Wrestling North, we don't care, we talk about them all. If it's good and it's exciting, I want to share it with you. We're on the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Check us out on the feed. Check us out on Twitter at EuroGrapsEXP. And join us for chat about European wrestling and a little bit of chat about cheese. Hopefully see you there.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Welcome to episode 45 of the Emerald Flow Show. We're a podcast on the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. You can follow us on X at Emerald Flow Show, and you can listen to us on all major podcasting apps. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review. You can go to voicesofwrestling.com/donate to donate to this pod if you are feeling extra generous. I'm Gerard, and unlike last time, I'm here and Paul's not, so we switched around. Paul's, of course, in London for All In, but he was also at the Rev Pro 11th anniversary show yesterday, which, from the sounds of things, was the show of the weekend in London and everything like that. And that intro you heard this week was the Funk Brothers theme from All Japan Pro Wrestling starting in the 1970s. And who better to talk about Terry Funk, the N1, the Royal Road Tournament, and even some great than Dylan Fox. Dylan, how are you?
I'm so honored to be back on, Gerard. It's been so long since I was on. The last episode I was on, I think, was maybe it was right after I think Kaito beat Muto. So I guess like over a year now.
Was it? I think it was around going into the All Japan Budokan show.
That's a little bit later. Yeah, you might be right. We'll have to check the archives on that. I feel like we talked about Kaito and Muto on that show.
I think we were probably speculating what was going to happen at Budokan, even though it was probably a couple of months before.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Budokan was such a big deal for All Japan. That show was, and very successful thanks to the best band in the history of the world, Shingeki, who was the pre-show. I remember us talking about that, and I found out from your review. I had no idea until you said so. I was like, "What? They're on?" That's like an indie group that
they didn't make tape. They did not make
that. Was the sad part.
They didn't make NTV. They did not make the copy that made it onto All Japan TV. So that was
they went crazy about it.
There.
Yeah, on their well, X now, not Twitter. That things have changed, times have changed, but they were really into it though. I was reading some of their posts. They were very happy, and they thought that maybe they too one day could get to 50 years, much like All Japan, which is probably not going to happen the way the music industry works. But I'm so happy to be on the show, especially this show. So much going on. Obviously all over the world with All In. Next week, there's going to be a ton of shows happening as well. And then, we were talking about it off the air. Arisa Nakajima and Sari, y'all got to watch that if you're fans of Joshi or just great wrestling in general. I think no matter what kind of fan you are, you'll like it. But we got a lot to talk about today. And long story short, thank you for having me on. Thank you to the Voices of Wrestling folks out there and all the fans of the Emerald Flow Show, which I am one. I'm a listener every week, even when you're not on or Paul's not on. I really appreciate what you guys are doing.
Oh, that's amazing, and thank you. Um, I really appreciate that. But unfortunately, we got to start with obviously one of the big stories of the week, the passing of an absolute legend in Terry Funk. Dylan, would it be fair to say he's probably the second biggest foreign star in Japanese wrestling history?
There's so many, but he's definitely right up there.
He's absolutely top five, but
Oh, yeah. That's for sure. You think of the legends of the past, people like Stan Hansen, Bruiser Brody, and he was right up there with those guys. To me, I don't think the modern guys have as much reach or scope as they did back in those days, just because it's a whole different world.
Well, Terry had albums like
exactly. That's
did.
Yeah.
Jumbo did. And even like someone like the Destroyer, going back further, like half of Japan would have watched his matches on TV.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
like
Mil
60 million
Mascaras.
people and that sort of thing.
Yeah, there's so many great legends. Sharp Brothers were like super huge back in those days. Thez and all of that. There's just so many great foreigners, but Terry Funk definitely top tier, like elite tier.
You can still see the effect of Terry Funk on today's Puro more so than some of those other guys.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's for sure. I mean, and the longevity of it. I mean, that retirement show, everybody goes back to it. The big forever, just saying forever and over, like a legendary promo. That was in Japan, his first ever retirement show, 1983, first of many retirements that he would have. And then all the way into the 90s with obviously the IWA stuff with Cactus Jack and all of the hardcore stuff he did with Onita. And he just was such an amazing talent, but like you said, just an amazing character as well. It's so popular in Japan, so over. I was actually watching a match of his not that long ago. It was him and Jumbo. Actually, everybody knows, if you know me, Jumbo is my pick for the greatest wrestler ever and one of my all-time favorites as well. This is like 1980. I think it was a Champion Carnival match actually. But if you look at that match, Funk was actually more over than Jumbo, like as a popular babyface character in Japan than in 1980. That shows you how strong his brother as well. Like his team with his brother, Dory Funk Jr. is very legendary in his own right of that era. But he was just something on a whole nother level, something so special.
I really listened to a great episode of Pacific Rim that Jim Valley and Fumi Saito did on Terry that came out like only a few hours after the news broke, I think.
Wow.
And Fumi was like, yeah, Terry was more popular than Dory.
Yeah, he definitely was. But as a tag team though, they did have a lot of classic matches. I will say that. But yes, Terry was obviously. I mean, just look at him. If you ever see Dory wrestle, he is like the wrestler's wrestler, like no flash, all groundwork. Like some people would say boring. I actually kind of liked a lot of his wrestling, to be honest, but some people would say boring. But then you look at Terry, and he's this exuberant character. Just the way he wrestles, even his punches are so legendary. If you've watched a lot of his matches, just something as a punch something as simple as a punch, he can make seem like the coolest thing in the world. And depending on where he was at, he had so much of a legacy in America, obviously, but in Japan, he had a very much a large deal of respect and love all the way to this day.
So one thing I didn't realize is when he was the NWA world champion, he was for about 403 days, famously gave up the title to his wife left him. So he, which I find a huge amount of respect for him to do that and everything like that. But he only did one tour of Japan as champion. And it wasn't even a long tour. And I didn't realize that, but I had seen there's a June 1976 match between him and Jumbo, I think June 11th or something, which is easily available if you find it, and that's worth checking out. Other matches I recommend, the final match of the 1977 Real World Tag League, which is the Funks versus Abdullah and the Sheik, which was like probably maybe Terry's most famous match because it's the match that turned the Funk's baby face, and it was like referenced in Japanese media upon his death, and that like Fumi talked about it as well. So that's like a historic match. One of the first like foreign baby faces. I guess the Destroyer was probably the first one, but The Funks have been such heels. And then I think one of the greatest matches of all time, the 1981 Real World Tag League final match, Broda and Snuka versus the Funks, where Terry does an amazing sell job because Stan Hansen accompanies Brody and Snuka to the ring, and that's his All Japan debut, and this is one of the best angles ever. And then, of course, the final Funks versus Hansen and Gordy from Funk's original retirement in '83. And Dylan, what do you have any favorite Terry in Japan matches that I didn't mention?
One time he actually faced his brother in a match. It was 1981. Right. It was when it was supposed to be Brody, but he didn't show up for some reason. I can't remember exactly why it happened. But for somehow or another, they ended up fighting each other. And I thought that was a fantastic match. Again,
Brody jumped to
yeah, that must have been when it was. Yeah, it was 81. This happened. Yeah. It's like April 81. Another one you can find. A lot of this old school stuff is actually, we're so lucky because I'm a Lucha Libre fan. And if you try to find historical Lucha Libre, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's there, but a lot of times it's not. But with this Japan stuff, because it's been so well archived, and because the TV networks owning the footage has a lot of negative connotations to it, but actually it also helps a lot of the older.
Well, they keep replaying it too.
Yeah, it's exactly why it's so good, because this can live on through all the times they've actually replayed it. Same thing with All Japan women's stuff is too. As a company that's been dead for almost 20 years, you can still find a ton of their legendary matches.
I think
out there if you look for them.
I think Samurai in the last couple of years, Samurai TV's even aired some FMW in higher quality than people had seen before too.
Yeah, it's like a treasure trove out there if you know where to look. But that was one of my favorite matches. It's a great singles match, but there was a lot of good ones on there too. The one you mentioned with Abdullah the Butcher, the one in '78 was the tag match was so just a crazy match, as you'd expect between those two. He did some really good stuff overall in there, but the tag team stuff, there was good stuff with Billy Robinson and Horst Hoffman. In '77. There's a really fun match if you want to see. It's Baba Jumbo versus Funk, and not his brother, but actually Dick Slater. In 1980 was a really good tag team match too. Anytime you can see Baba get in there,
I forgot to mention the main event of the very first All Japan show at what's that venue that they ran in February for Kento versus Yuma?
Oh, that was Kento and Yuma. Oh yeah.
It's in Tokyo, or I think it's at the western edge of Tokyo or something. That was the location of the very first All Japan show, and the main event of that show was Giant Baba and Thunder Sugiyama versus Bruno Sammartino and Terry Funk in a 2 out of 3 falls match.
See, how about that? That shows you
there from the beginning,
Yeah, from the very beginning in All Japan. Did he ever...
Booker famously told Dave Meltzer to watch the Crush Gals?
Smart guy. They were so over at that time. You couldn't even you probably couldn't go anywhere without meeting them wrestling or not back then. But yeah, he after that, he was gone for a while doing the NWA stuff. He actually had a very, very brief run in '95 in New Japan. He reemerged.
Right.
Yeah. It was when Great Kabuki was there and Sabu was there. It was a really crazy time. So he's very small in New Japan, a lot in All Japan that he has, but in IWA, he probably wrestled in FMW.
Oh, he had the Funk Masters of Wrestling.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. See, so he's all over.
The famous match in May of '93 against Onita, which is more of a spectacle than a good wrestling match.
All of those matches were like that, though. Isn't that? I had heard that Onita's he's a big fan of cinema, movies. I know that's kind of overdone.
The way that is shot with the wide shots, on the stadium and everything. Yeah, it's totally like a movie.
Yeah, he wanted to make all of Onita's big matches like that, where he wanted to make it more like movies than traditional wrestling matches, and he succeeded because, like you said, that was a complete spectacle. Diving on the referee at the end, everything blowing up, slapping Terry, trying to wake him up at the end. Very fun match stuff. And like you said, not a great wrestling match, but fun spectacle stuff. If you want to see some good wrestling, him and All Japan is where you go. Him and his brother, like I said, great tag team, but him just on his own, if you can find some of those matches. I mean, they had really a who's who in all Japan of these foreign talents. You had Flair there, Bockwinkel was there, Rick Martel, and he crossed paths with a lot of
Your
those
boy
guys.
Rick Martel.
Oh yeah, one of my all-time favorites. Yes, the model himself. But I like him better before.
No,
before
his
the model.
AWA Rick Martel is amazing.
Yeah, Portland as well, and in all Japan he had some great matches too. But they had such a who's who of talent. The thing you got to understand about some of these singles matches, though, the fans were conditioned that the count out was the way, pretty much. Like back then, every match, like there was no clean finishes practically in the early 80s in all Japan. That changed at the end of the decade and going into the 90s. And an era that everybody loved so much, obviously, after UWF made Baba realize he needs to stop goofing around so much and get clean finishes in there. But if you could stand the fact that there probably are going to be crazy stuff and not a lot of clean finishes, you have a lot of great matches in all Japan with Funk and a lot of people.
If you think about those matches in that era that ended with well, maybe clean is not the right word, but actual pinfalls, they're actually generally among the more famous matches.
Yeah.
Like 1981 Real World Tag League match, Brody pins Dory. And that's a huge finish. And when Jumbo won the AWA world title from Bockwinkel, he pinned Bockwinkel.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, see,
those are the two off the top of my head. I think there's others.
Yeah, then later in the decade, it becomes much more prominent, obviously. Another match I wanted to shout out was the Funks versus Steamboat and Youngblood. That's one of my all-time favorite tag teams. It's a shame Youngblood died so young. Like, what a great lost cause to wrestling, because I think he would have been an all-time legend if he had been able to live longer. But you actually get to see them in All Japan, those two teams. It was like 1982. I'm sure you can find it online pretty easy, but that was a great match. Go check that out, especially if you've never seen Steamboat and Youngblood, because everybody knows Steamboat, but them as a team was like an all-time great team to me. It just was so short that they don't get their roses a lot. So you get to see the Funks and them in 1982, and it's just as good. And they're like a perfect complements to each other stylistically. If you've ever seen Steamboat and Youngblood wrestle, they're such a great high-energy babyface team, and then you've got the gritty Funks coming after them. It's like they're just a perfect match. I love that match so much. One of the more underrated matches, in my opinion, in all honesty.
Dylan, I have a trivia question for you. Do you know what Terry Funk's last match in All Japan Pro Wrestling was?
Oh, he was there. Remember when they brought this was during the freaking the guy who got arrested era. There's like Shiraishi, 2013. They brought him back.
Getting warmer. Yeah.
Yeah, Dory and Terry. They faced it had to be Fuchi. It was one of them.
Yep. And can you guess who the other one was?
So I've got three. Was it another All Japan legend?
Not quite, but I think you can figure out stylistically who it was. If you extrapolate.
Maybe Nishimura.
Yep.
Oh, it was.
They went to a 20-minute draw on All Japan's 41st anniversary show.
I wish I could. Now, here's the thing. That era is so hard to find stuff from. Like, we're talking about the 80s. It's a lot easier. The 2013, 14, 15 era, man, it used to be so prominent when I was first coming up, and now it's like really hard to find stuff from there. I'd love to. I don't know how good that match was in 2013, to be honest, but it would be fun to watch, though.
Yeah, and I would say hopefully they do a memorial, like one of those memorial shows like they did for the Destroyer.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was like Wada and Tiger Kiara, and then like Baba or the Baba estate organized that. So I think hopefully they do that for Terry.
Oh, so deserved if that happens. I really hope you're right. We already saw the show from today, even in Noah, a company that he was never really in. They actually did like a tribute thing to him. It was like a very small thing, but just obviously we're still fresh off of it. But they actually mentioned it at the start of their show.
Poor Kohei Wada did not look very happy out there.
Yeah.
More and more legends are from his era, right?
Yeah, that's. I mean, you think about it, Funk. It's a shame that he's gone, but nobody can deny he lived an amazing, full life.
Mm-hmm.
Trivia note on that about his wife: he actually got her back after he gave up the title too.
Oh
So it was
yeah,
kind
they
of
were married all
yeah.
the way to his death a couple years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah, exactly. So they stayed together. Yeah, she passed away a few years ago, unfortunately. So rest in peace to both of them, obviously. Funk has so many great memories, obviously, for me as a fan, and so many people as fans, wrestlers, like you said, referees. It seems like if you hear all the stories about him, everyone loves him so much. Like they always talk about how unselfish he was, never mind how great he was, but just how he'd always be there for everybody, loved the fans as well, was a super fan friendly guy. I was listening earlier. Obviously, the thing is, why would you want to listen to us talk about it when you can listen to Mick Foley talk about Terry
I
Funk?
haven't listened to that yet.
Yeah,
Actually.
yeah. I listened to it a little bit earlier, and he was talking about how he would just go out and just hang out with the fans, bring people to his ranch. Obviously, the Double Cross Ranch in Texas, everybody knows. Everybody's just said great things about him, all throughout the industry, especially that era. And for a guy like Wada, he's been around and seen so much. I've seen so many great people and legends go. That's a very hard thing to deal with. So that's another thing we have to think of because the Funkster, man, he did so much for everybody in the industry as a fan or a watcher or just knowing him. And to see another person you love, obviously, All Japan, so many have gone, Baba, Jumbo, Misawa, and all of the rest. Brody, obviously, going back even further, we're talking about the whole time it feels like somebody else is going, and that's a sad reality of not just wrestling but life in general that you go into. So you got to feel for the people left behind that knew him and loved him so much, and hopefully. The family can have peace and solace in that, and I know the Funkster, he did live such a full life that it's sad that he's gone, but damn, he had a life to be proud of that he lived.
Absolutely, well said. That sums it up so well. So from there, we're going to move on to. We'll start with All Japan. There's a lot to go through. Instead of going through every tournament match, although there's not that many, but we'll just go by night and sort of talk about the big picture or your favorite matches. August 19th, Cork and Hall in front of 936 fans, which was what they do in Cork and Hall these days. We had the first round and then the World Tag Team title match where Kento and Yuma defeated Yuji Nagata and Ryuki Honda to retain the titles for their third defense. Dylan, what do you think of this show?
It was overshadowed. The tournament was overshadowed by the tag match, I would say, in the main event. None of the tournament matches were really anything to write home about. Dan and Suzuki, they did all right. Pretty decent match.
I thought it was good for what it was. It like 6:59.
Yeah, it was a good opening round match, like start off match. Nomura and Hokuto had a good match as well. I thought they did a fine job as well. The side, Ray Saito, we talked about him a little bit, not on the show, but maybe on my show, I might have said something, but I thought that they actually did better than you might expect in the Champion Carnival. Both the Saito brothers, really, but especially Ray, I think, stood out more than June, obviously.
Oh, I have some thoughts on the Saitos I will be getting to later.
I'm interested in hearing about them as well. The Ishikawa and Abe match, that went too long. To be honest, I didn't like that much.
You know what, though? I thought Shuji worked hard to try to give that kid something.
And that was the point of it going long, was to try and make him look better.
Yeah.
It just wasn't that entertaining for me watching, ultimately. I don't know about
it's a big guy, like the big guys running into each other is always gonna put it up a notch instead of it was just two average sized talentless guys or something.
True.
And stuff like that. And I thought the crowd was sort of awake for it.
I don't know about Ayabe as a
yes, I agree. I think he's better at tag, so
I agree.
This sounds like a ridiculous comparison, but he is an Akira Taue role in a tag team.
Oh, I could see that, actually, to be honest with you. Obviously, you hope he can get to... He probably won't ever get to that level because Tao is one of the best ever. But, I get what you're saying, though. I think that's a really good idea for him and can help him. And they've used him. I think they've actually been pretty smart about how they've used him up to this point. He wasn't in the carnival. They don't really expose him too much. They wanted to give him this match against a guy that is of his size. It's not that they, jobbed him out to some guy way smaller than him. They had him lose with purpose to a bigger guy. So I think the idea is sound. I just don't think he's that good. Yeah, ultimately, long story short about it.
Right. And we'll get to later, but there's going to be plenty of more JTO and All Japan crossover.
Yeah, and I thought the tag match main event was really strong.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah, as all of these, like I mean, you look at this with Kento and Yuma as a team, they're really knocking up notching up some big resume this year with a lot of their
if you want to
matches.
go back to that Yuma and Naoya Nomura versus Kento and
Yeah.
Takuya Nomura, you could say like Yuma Aoyagi has had quite the year as a tag team.
And obviously singles as well, but he's always been a great all-around performer. I mean, him and Kento's first run as a tag team, and like they've always had great chemistry and everything like that. Obviously, a big point of this match though was centered around Honda, and he's a guy that I've always loved so much. I thought when he came in, that's like pushing him, even when they gave him that spot where he suplexed Suwama, like way back when his first big moment. I thought, man, this guy's got it. He like this is a guy you could really build around in the future, be a main event player. I love the tag team with him and Ashino. I still think that's one of their biggest mistakes. Obviously, we look down in hindsight because of the injury to Ashino, but I just thought they were on fire as a tag team. Remember last year, speaking of Budokan, you had Taue and Kawada give him the titles. I was like, man, this is my wrestling right here. That was my favorite match on that whole show. Was their tag match?
That was the best match of the show.
Yeah. And I just thought they had a ton of potential together, and they went this other direction with him. I'm not a big fan of the new look, and especially in the Carnival, I thought he really underdelivered as a like straight up heel performer. They've kind of gotten away from all of that, thankfully. Him as Nagata is kind of like Nagata is his mentor type of deal they've done. I really like actually. I think that fits him really well and elevates him. I'm still not a big fan of the hair, but the wrestling is so good that it's okay.
I think the thing with Nagata sets up a story for Ashino when he returns.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great, and that's something I like. I mean, we're going to talk about Noah a little bit later. I mean, there's so much to criticize with how they run their shows and their company, but with All Japan, and there was a time where All Japan's such a weird company overall because there's times usually you'll look at a 6 months period of All Japan and you'll be like, everything's clicking. This is great. I love what they're doing. Remember at the end of last year, not the end of last year, but the end of the Champion Carnival when Yuma won last year, everybody was hyped for it. It was like, okay, this is perfect. Everything's firing on all cylinders. And then a month later, it's like Voodoo Murders is back. They've disavowed Ashino and Suwama. Jake is the champion. Like things are going crazy. We don't know what's going on. It's a weird company because they go through really definitive phases of either it's really good or really bad. And I think that right now we're in a good phase though of All Japan. I like pretty much everything they're doing. Up and down the card. I think they have good things. We'll talk about the junior title, which I'm not a big fan of because of who's the champion right now in its performances. But I think that they have good ideas up and down pretty much everything. Maybe the All Asia title, but even then, I think it sucks, but it's something different for the card. And I think that there's value in that when you're doing something that's radically different than everything else. It's kind of like its own universe. I think there's value to that in any wrestling show.
I would be more amenable. Like if I had more proof that Onita was still a draw, I would be more amenable to it. Like I get the variety argument, but I just don't see any evidence that Onita draws anything right now.
No, there is no evidence because it's not true.
Yeah.
So you won't find any. But I do think, and I hate those matches. I think anybody who knows me knows that that's not what I want in wrestling at all, especially not in All Japan. But
none of those exploding current matches I think have been as bad as Omori and Masao Inoue versus Nosawa and Kendo Kashin. I just have to say that
was special. Where is Big Kendo these days?
Probably backstage at Noah. I mean, I'm assuming
that's where he needs to be, backstage.
Yeah. So I think that covers it for that show. I liked Minoru Suzuki, Naruki Doi versus Suwama and Hikaru Sato too.
Yeah, they have a good chemistry together. Both teams actually, I think, have a pretty good chemistry. Obviously, Sato and Suwama have teamed together a lot in the past as Evolution. Yeah, we'll team more as well going into this DDT deal that they're doing. But
I-
going Suzuki, I don't think they've gotten everything they could have out of that faction yet. I think they're doing better the last couple of months. Obviously, last month with Omori getting the title shot and the tag title shot, I thought they did a good job. But I'd like to see them as a group kind of. It feels like they're three pieces coming together and not like one group. I don't think
Right.
they've really established them, and I think that they need more of that to kind of let them gel a little bit more.
I sort of consider Tanizaki part of that group too now.
That's true as well, but even still, I do think that they need some more time to all gel
Yeah, for
together.
sure.
They don't even have a name.
No.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll just mention him since we're starting. What do you think of Igor Blanc? I mean, I think there's clearly like some talent there, but like he's like so many young indie wrestlers from in the West where he does way too many like twists and spins for every move.
I'm really happy that he got the opportunity. It's such a good thing. I always respect anybody that comes from a place where there really is no big promotion, like France, for example. There's no mainstream promotion of any note there, but he's found his way into wrestling in All Japan, and obviously, I think they wanted kind of a new version of Francesco Akira. Obviously, they would like that. I think he really struggled in this first turn, to be honest with you. But like you said, there's something there. I think the look is all right. I think it's kind of weird being in like at his size in this junior division, but I think there's something there. I think that he didn't have a good first run, but I think that they will want to give him another shot to see if he could grow, because you look at where Akira was from the start to the end, and he really improved, and that's what you would want with somebody like Igor Blanc. So wishing the best for him. Very proud of him for even making it here. It wasn't the best first tour that you could have, though.
Yeah, that sums it up well. I would bring him back though for sure. And then we move on to the next show on August 21st at Shinkiba in front of 322 fans. That's a super no vacancy full house. We had Hayato Tamura defeated Jun Saito with a lariat. I thought I enjoyed it for what it was.
I like this match. I really like Tamura. I think he's a guy. We're going to talk about Glade a little bit later, but one of the guys he should be one of the
he
quote
should have
unquote.
beat T.I.
But yeah, that as well. Listen, that show, I've reviewed that show like 5 times, and each time I just get more annoyed when I think about that Sumo Hall Glade show. But that was definitely, and that was probably the best. It wasn't probably, it was the best match. Like, I feel pretty confident saying that on that show, and he was really good in it. But like you said, the loss really knocked him down a few pegs. But as a talent, I think he's got everything it takes. Similar to Honda, I felt the same way about him a couple of years ago, where it's like he's got the look, he's got charisma, he can wrestle. And even in this match, Jun Saito is not the, greatest arbiter of the mat that you could find. But I really thought Tamura worked his ass off here and really made this work. And they had a pretty decent match. I like this.
Mm-hmm. And then I think this might have been the most controversial match of the show. Suwama defeated Fuminori Abe in 24 seconds with the John Woo dropkick. I mean, I liked it. I thought it was a great setup, like going with the punch to surprise Suwama. Right? That was cool. But then it just ended.
I know that it was controversial. I know a lot of people didn't like it. Justifiably so. I'm not saying anyone's wrong, but I'm just saying, put yourself in Suwama's shoes. Look at Suwama and look at Abe. How could you have expected? Like, this is exactly what I expected to happen. Like, Suwama to just bulldoze him. At best, maybe you could get like some flash pin attempt on him. Well,
he got the backslide.
Yeah, exactly. So they did all that I expected, and why even drag it out more? And Abe, he's a guy that I really wish All Japan would do a lot more with in general. This is clearly just to appease Suwama and to have this little comedy type of moment here to have him destroy a guy. But Abe, I think, one of the best wrestlers in the whole world to me, if you look at his run, and they don't really do a lot with him. Even him and as the astronauts, they don't really pair them together
now,
in anything major.
In defense of All Japan, slightly here is that I think Abe really enjoys being the journeyman.
Yeah.
So I cannot totally blame All Japan if he cannot commit to,
Oh, yeah,
their
and I agree with
arcs.
that. I agree with that, but I do think like
But I
putting
think they
them
should book him for more shows, even just to put him on the undercard if they can.
exactly. He's kind of like Sato, where he could succeed in most situations you put him in, even if it's a young guy match. Put him in there with Rio Inoue in an opener if you want. Like let him have a great match. He would gain something from that. Inoue's already rising up my list of like my favorite wrestlers anyway, but putting him there with guys like that will only help. And I do think there's value in saying, hey, let's give the astronauts a tag title shot. And like you could have Abe lose, obviously. I'm not saying you have
Yeah.
to give him big wins, but I'm just saying use them and let other guys wrestle, especially your young talent, and really make them look better. Give them a little bit more confidence. Maybe you learn something, and you give the fans a really good match too, because he's just a wonderful talent, charismatic. Again, he's another guy. But the thing is, he doesn't have size, so he's always going to be stuck. And that's why I wasn't mad about this match as much
Yeah,
as
yeah.
other people, because I figured this is exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah. Probably not even as bad as like Suwama just like beating him up for 2 minutes and putting the sleeper on him.
Oh yeah, that's true. Or like remember, I remember there was some match where Ishikawa beat somebody with the Fez press.
He's used that a bunch of times.
Yeah. But it was a particularly bad version that he used, and it was just like, oh, come on, like you can't do better than this. But yeah, like at least it was memorable. And like I said, it's not like Abe loses anything by this. It's like he's in the same spot he was before and after, and he'll be in the same spot in Big Japan and all the other places he wrestles, regardless of this.
Yeah, I mean he doesn't. Well, I mean he's got his tag title run in Big Japan, but he doesn't. But he only generally wins titles other than the Big Japan tag title in like Bizarra or smaller level promotions.
Yeah, and it's kind of his lot in life. It's sad because he's very talented, but I think if you're realistic, you could look at his size and realize there's going to be a ceiling put on him. Like if you're especially in a bigger company like this.
Yeah, for sure. And then next up, Kento Miyahara defeated Atsuki Aoyagi in 12 minutes and 21 seconds with the shutdown German suplex hold. I mean, what else? What did you expect? This was pretty good.
Yeah. I mentioned this on the Eastern Lariat, but for some reason, I feel like Kento brings more of Atsuki's brother out of Atsuki than any other opponent. Whenever they're together, Atsuki gets like a charisma bump. I feel like I don't know what brings it out of him, but when he's wrestling Yuma or Kento, that brings out a little bit of the edge that his brother has. Because if you look at him as like junior ace guy, I feel like that Hayato kind of outshines him.
Well, I've debated whether or not they should just make Hayato the junior ace.
Yeah, and that was something I was on board with last year. Once he got the new character, I really enjoyed that. I know a lot of people are iffy on it, but now I think a lot of people are really coming around to that side. That hey, maybe Hayato is a little bit better. I
think Atsuki will be the junior ace because he's like their guy from their dojo, and he's also Yuma's younger brother.
Yeah, the champion's brother, for sure. But I don't know who they'll push, but in terms of a talent, I would say Hayato it's a better overall player than Atsuki. But whenever Atsuki wrestles Kento or Yuma, he wrestles different than he does against anybody else, and he has a little bit more swag to him.
For sure.
And I always appreciate that. I don't know why it happens that way, or maybe he's just extra motivated, but he always brings his A game. And and I'm not trying to bag him at all. I think he's a really strong wrestler and a great junior ace if they want to make him that at a champion. Obviously, they kind of cut that off for reasons unknown right now. We thought they would go a certain way, and they've decided against it.
Yeah,
regardless,
I don't know what's going on with that. We're back to like the Tajiri booking of the juniors. Unfortunately,
shadow booker of a Kyushu Pro now also helping out with All Japan. But no, Atsuki was great in this match, Joe. I was so impressed by him and Kento. And like you said, we expect it at this point. It's not like we can add a lot to it. It's just we expect it to be this way, and he always delivers what you want him to deliver and what the fans want to deliver.
Yep, for sure. And then in the main event, Ryuki Honda defeated Yuma Aoyagi in 14 minutes and 38 seconds with the final vent. I mean, I think a lot of people saw this coming when they had the brackets, but I was 100% positive after the results of the tag title match. And, obviously this was pretty great. I mean, I think To me, these two have the best chemistry out of all of Honda's opponents. Maybe it's just like the two young guys wanting to prove something or something, but
No,
I
I
prefer the
totally
Honda
agree.
versus Yuma to even the Miyahara.
No, I totally agree with you. I love what they bring to the table against each other. Um, Honda as well against Kento has a great rapport as well.
Oh
But
yeah,
these and so does everybody, right?
yeah.
They
But
all
I
depend.
I think Honda and Yuma just have the like. I want to. Well, they are going to main event a big show, so or no, they're not.
No, no, they won't. But we
We'll get to
we will
that
talk
later.
about it. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe one day they will, just not soon.
yeah.
But they will have matches against each other in the near and far future. And you see a match like this, it really makes you excited for the future of All Japan, and you just want them to have guys like this. These two and Anza, I mean, wow. Well, you talk about the Three Musketeers in New Japan. I would take these three over the three that they have. Like all around, I think these guys are like the top trio, and obviously Noah has none, like no Musketeers at the moment. But these three, I think, are just. And that's the thing. Everyone looks at Aoyagi as this veteran type of player, but he's still not old. He's like,
28.
yeah, 28. He's still got many years to go. Him leading this new generation, Anzai so young, Honda so young, man. You really see a match like this and makes you excited for the next 5 years, the next 10 years of All Japan. They have so much left in all of them.
Yep. And then we go to the next show.
Before we do that, we have to
Yeah.
talk about one thing very important. Chi-Chi.
Oh yes, Unagi
Chi-
Sayaka and Saki defeated Zones and Chi-Chi. I thought it was fun.
It was, and the thing is, I don't think anyone again will call Saki all caps and Sayaka the the ring generals of our time, but I thought they worked together really well here, and I just want to shout out.
I mean,
Chi-Chi.
it's a pretty simple formula.
Yeah.
Is this a hot take? But I think Chi-Chi, I think Sunny and Zones are ahead of Chi-Chi.
Okay. You're picking Sunny over Chi-Chi as well. I see.
So I think Chi-Chi has a great ring presence and charisma, and I think they're sort of positioning her as the ace.
Yes.
Like the beauty ace, and then you got the high speed in Chi-Chi, or sorry, in Sunny, and then you have like the powerhouse in Zones. But other and Chi-Chi, like when she does moves, she does them actually fairly well, like the drop kick from the top rope, and I think she does a pretty decent fisherman suplex.
I am a fool. I was the original Chi-Chi respector. When everyone was.
She just throws a lot of high kicks all the time.
That's all I want in my
Some of them
wrestling,
don't even
Gerard.
look that good.
Listen,
I mean, they're not even. I don't even think they have a dozen matches yet in.
that's
But
another thing. We're talking about like
that's-
super rookies at the moment.
I don't know, 10 matches max. That could be wrong. There's only been 3 or 4 Evolution shows, and they've done
Yeah.
2 other shots. So we're talking a dozen tops, probably less.
Yeah.
Count. Although they don't have cage match profiles yet, so that's why.
We're still we got to patiently wait for them to get the cage match profiles, but everyone always likes Zones because of the name. Zones, all caps, is
Well,
always
I
what
mean,
call him.
Zones has like a nice story, overcoming adversity type thing too.
I like all of them, honestly. I like
yeah.
it, but it was a fun match. I just wanted to shout out the Evolution girls. I think for people so young in their careers, you made a great point. I think they all have great futures, and
Well, we have to
like.
give. This is
Yeah.
why we have to give credit to Suwama.
And I will listen. I like Suwama, just not as title contender. Suwama. Now I always make this point. Everyone always says, "Oh, Dylan, you hate Suwama." I like Suwama as a wrestler. I like his ideas for the Evolution Girls. I just don't want him as champion. Like that's all I want. That's all I ask of you. I don't want you squashing people in 25 seconds. That so much to ask?
Mm-hmm. Well, and all I'll say is that it goes to show how what you can make a woman what you can make out of limited resources into a women's division if you actually support women's wrestling.
Even bigger companies I know have struggled with that lately.
Yeah. Well, okay, so this is something that I was thinking of writing an article about at Voice of Wrestling, and my hot take was going to be All Japan has built the best women's division out of any of the traditional men's companies in Japan. Because
that's interesting.
Technically, the New Japan stuff has peaked higher, obviously. Like, you know,
Yeah,
but there's no soul to it, and clearly you can tell there's lots of people in the company that don't want to even have them there. The
yeah,
Noah stuff is fine, but it's just random booking.
right.
But All Japan has built stories, right? You've got Ozaki and like Seki Gun from Oz Academy versus the Evolution Girls. You've got Unagi versus Suwama and Evolution Girls. You know what I mean? Like you have multiple stories and everything all set up.
Yeah, like New Japan, it's tough because if that's what the problem is with them. What you just said is that they don't want it. At the end of the day, if they wanted it, they could pick over all kinds of people from Stardom and just have the best women's division of any company anywhere. But they choose not to. And if you really look at their actual output, you've really got one match in Japan to really hang your hat on, the triple threat that they had at Sakura Genesis, because I mean the Dome match was great for what it was, but what it was like literally a 5-minute match.
7 minutes, yeah, 7 minutes,
yeah,
50 something, I think.
Yeah, it was like a 5-minute match, and most of it was like built towards a debut that they had on the show. So it's like you're really looking at one real match that they've had. If they wanted to, that will change, but right now, and then you look at Noah and All Japan, and like you said, Noah, it's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. It's just not. It feels like somebody was like, it's not that they don't want it. It's just that, hey, we've got an idea. We're going to put women on the show now.
But they're not investing into
and that's as far as it went. That's as far as the thought process went.
And say what you want about those. Well, first of all, the first intergender 6-person tag match they had, I loved. That was Ishikawa and Team 200 kilograms versus Suwama, and
that was on the Christmas show.
Oh yeah, I love that match. Some of the subsequent ones, but I mean, Unagi is over on these shows. I see pictures of her, the huge merch lines at these All Japan shows. Like they have picked their spots very well, all things considered.
Yeah, and they're clearly putting something into it. They put a lot into Kairi. Like they gave her a great promotion for this, this show.
And also, I have to go back to Suwama again. Did you see him get slapped by Maya Yukihi at that Oz Academy show?
Yes.
Like respect. He sells for these women too.
I mean, he's clearly having the time of his life in these matches.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this on the when they did, I think that same match you're talking about, the Christmas show, it's like no one loves this more than Suwama. No matter how much of a fan you may be, he is the one that loves this most. So
like the pop that they got, and they weren't allowed to cheer on that show when Hashimoto gave him the German.
Yeah, that was good.
Oh.
Yeah, that was good stuff. Didn't you put that on your top 10 of the year or something like that?
I put it at number 10.
Yeah, see, I remember.
Like it was like a vanity pick.
Listen,
I loved it so much.
And I'm not shaming you for this. I just wanted to show you that I took care in your picks, and I remembered them even from 8 months ago. Now.
Well, I was like, this was like the most fun I had watching a wrestling match.
It was fun. Like it was a great match. Like. And then, like I said, they're doing some nice things. Again, we're really, we're trying to find very small victories here. It's like, oh, it's better than this one show that has one match in a year. It's like other shows, and the other one that doesn't do anything really. But if they can, it's still fresh territory for a lot of these people too. I mean, for the entire existence of Japanese pro wrestling, the women and the men's companies were always separated, and they're trying to
mostly you had FMW.
Yeah, that the big three at least. I mean, and even then, like on the old Noah shows, they used to have on the SEM shows, the Shim shows, they would have like Kana was on a lot of those, and they'd have women's matches. New Japan brought in the All Japan girls for like the Dome show one year, 2002. They had there, so like it's not like it's never been done.
The Gaia women in North Korea.
Oh, of course. We cannot forget the Peace Festival ladies out there. But it's not like it's never been done. But for doing something regularly, even All Japan, like in the last decade, they've had women's matches on the shows before.
Well, they had to because they didn't have anything else to put on.
That may be true, but it still happens. So it's not like it's not like it's impossible that it's never happened before. But it's new territory to do something regularly as much as they're doing, especially.
Yeah, and well, what's really even new territory is the intergender and injecting like Suwama into all these storylines.
Yeah, it's Suwama. That's Suwama push. They tried to do that. Remember when I think it was the time the Violent Giants were champions. They proposed some kind of match where it was like them versus, I think it was Hashimoto and you, but then Akiyama was like, "No, we're not doing that," or something like that. Somebody vetoed that, and now they're really getting more into that lane. I mean, I don't know if it's good or bad in the long term, but right now it seems like they've done as good of a job as you could hope for it.
Absolutely. I'm like really into it too. And not that I was skeptical, but the thing was my skepticism comes from like the amount of time that Suwama talked about doing a women's company.
Yeah.
And then the amount of time that nothing happened. And during that time, he showed up in Ice Ribbon and like met with Tsukasa. But then like Ice Ribbon had his crisis and then she took her pregnancy leave. And I was like, okay, this is not happening. And then it did.
Yeah, they've started a pretty decent way to go about it. But let me ask you this, Gerard. Realistically, how far do you think this can go? Like with this women's division in All Japan. Like, do you think they'd really make a title and a division out of it?
If I were to make a title, I would make an Evolution title.
Yeah,
have it defended on All Japan shows occasionally.
Yeah, I think that could totally work.
I think like the what they are is like, okay, so they're now inserted into the Sendai Girls Marvelous level where they just like share talent and Oz Academy.
Yeah.
Did I see one of the zones is working Ice Ribbon show, or am I dreaming that?
No, I think you're right.
So they're in that sort of nexus of Joshi level. And so it's all back and forth with them anyway, right?
Yeah, and like for example, Noah, they did talk about bringing in like a GHC women's title. It hasn't materialized yet.
I would I would keep it separate. I guess you could make a PWF women's title.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, Evolution, for all intents and purposes, is really just a sub brand of All Japan. It's like Suwama's big project. I mean, there's only a company can only be so big with 3 people at the end of the day.
My concern is eventually these women got to start winning. Who's going to put them over? And like, what are the politics of that?
We'll be talking.
They're so small they're small even compared to like a Marvelous.
We will be talking about the consequences of not doing that when we talk about GLATE later, their women's division. So they have warning signs if they want to avoid those. We have a direct category.
Funny enough, because Michiko is working an All Japan show coming up. Okay, so we move on to the second night, and we've got
second round.
Second round. Sorry, let me just see here. I'm just going to bring up Jun Saito and Rei Saito versus Yoshitatsu and Ren Ayabe, because once again, Yoshitatsu got pinned. And he's been getting pinned a lot lately. I don't know if you've noticed this, Dylan.
Yeah.
Do you think he's on his way out after him and Onita dropped those All Asia tag titles? Or am I just hyping myself up?
Will they ever drop those titles, though?
Also a legitimate question.
Will they ever be beaten, or will they just...
Or Onita will suffer another injury?
Even then, he won't give up the title. So we've proven that will not cause them to relinquish the titles, no matter how many injuries he suffers.
Yeah.
So I think Yoshitatsu. Again, realistically, where would he go if he left?
DDT.
They did bring him in. Well, so I mean, that could be his place. That might be where he belongs. I think is a DDT.
I think he'd fit in there. As bizarre as that sounds.
Yeah, I think
better than the young, like the All Japan new generation.
Well, hey, they're working together more. That could be the end game of all of this.
Yep. Yep.
Trade Yoshitatsu and Onita for Akiyama and Okada.
I mean, Okada ain't doing anything.
He won't do anything when he comes here either, but still, it would be nice to have him around.
Yeah. So we start off round 2. Suwama defeated Hayato Tamura in 9 minutes. I actually was a little disappointed in this. The last couple minutes are fine when they just started layering at each other, but I think I might have hyped myself a bit too much up for this match.
Yeah, I think this match was like about as good as him versus Saito. It's just when you see Suwama and Jun Saito, you expect one to be a lot better than the other, and this really wasn't.
Yeah. Exactly. Kojima defeated Takuya Nomura in 9 minutes and 17 seconds with a lariat. I love this, and I love Nomura like showing some attitude.
Yeah, mocking Kojima here. Again, I think he also got the spirit of Yuma implanted in him, but this time by Kojima instead of Kento. So I really enjoyed this. Actually, I thought Nomura. It's something he doesn't show a lot because again, when you see him teaming with Abe is the one that's really the more charismatic guy, and he's kind of a stoic, pure wrestler guy who we love. Don't I'm not hating on him at all. He's perfect how he is. But then you see something like this, you get to see something a little different. And why not? You're facing a guy from the top company. It's not like Big Japan is going to, if you're a Big Japan wrestler, your options of wrestling a New Japan guy are very low.
Yeah.
So you might as well take a victim.
And you're doing a job to him in another company that's not even your own.
Exactly. So why not make the most out of it, have a little fun with it. And I think it made the match better.
Yeah, for sure. And then next up, Tsuji Ishikawa defeated Dan Tamura in 14 minutes and 21 seconds with the Splash Mountain. I love this.
This is another fun match.
Shuji gave Dan a lot. The crowd loved it. The crowd really wanted Dan to win, and it took the Splash Mountain to beat him instead of just like a running knee or a
disguise scissors press.
Yeah, or the Fez press, which often Ishikawa will use to pin juniors. So it was a lot of fun, and really, I think this is one of Dan's best singles matches.
Oh, I totally agree.
Like this and that match against Atsuki at Ota Ward.
Yeah, that's right. That was a nice match in and of itself. He's a guy that I like him. It's just you see other guys and they impress you more than he does that have come around, and that's kind of a tough spot to be in. But he's always been good, like ever since the beginning. And
maybe they should advocate for him to win the Ludette UWF title in great.
A real shooter. Tom Wright. Well, he did better than
he was the only one that didn't make a fool out of himself on that great MMA show because he went to a time limit. He lost by decision after the time limit against Shrek.
And that was the great thing. They put two wrestlers against each other instead of like a real MMA fighter, and that made him look a lot better. But yeah, I mean, that show was one of the worst shows that I can remember, that MMA show. But yeah, you're right. He was one of the only ones that showed any ability that was there. But a good match here with Ishikawa. And Ishikawa, I always say, I don't lump him in with a lot of these other guys. I think he's always done a good job of really aging gracefully, going back down the card when he needs, and helping young talent over. I think he's a lot better at that than Suwama has been, I would argue.
I think Ishikawa's had a sneaky good year. The match against Nagata, the Violent Giants versus Strong BJ tag. Because a lot of, he's obviously not what he once was, but I've had a lot of people were a little too harsh on. Yeah.
He's like the company of itself, where he'll go through a good 3, 4, 5, 6 month period where it's like, hey, he's actually still got something in that tank. And then there'll be the next 5 or 6 months will be like, he's not really, you forget he's on the card practically when he's in some of these undercard matches. But when he's been asked to step up and do things, I think he's pretty much been as successful as you can hope for at his age and talent level, except for on that Glade show.
Yeah.
And I hated that show so much.
And then in the main event, Ryuki Honda defeated Kento Miyahara in 16 minutes and 57 seconds with the final event. This was another strong match. Great performance by both guys. Kento, obviously willing to put this guy over, making him look good. Honda showing the fire. Shin Kiba, the best hardcore fans that All Japan has, were all behind Honda. Definitely one of the best matches of the tournament. Yeah,
I like the match with Yuma better. Actually, the crowd was into this.
I think it was a little better, but I mean, it wasn't a big gap.
It's like it's one of these matches. Kento, we all love him and he's awesome and he's great. But then there are some times where I feel like he kind of falls too much into his kind of, Kento style, I guess, in this match, his formulaic style. And I thought that was kind of one of these matches but the intentions in this match were really good because there were parts where he was throwing, he was going all out on Honda, but Honda would pop up a no-sell, like the big knee strike, the blackout knee that he had, which was, I thought, really cool. I thought, okay, it's clear they're trying to put this guy over and make him not just give him the win, but really show that, hey, he's reached a new level than we've seen him thus far. And I thought they accomplished everything they needed to. I personally just enjoyed the other match a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think of, I guess, looking about the way this tournament turned out, do you think that you could have fed other guys to Honda and saved big wins over Kento and Yuma for another time, or was this the best way to build them up?
I think considering that he, how it turned out, this was probably what I would have done as well, actually. I mean,
I think it put the results of the finals way more in doubt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yuma and Kento.
And Suwama as well.
Oh, and Suwama,
yeah. See, so you beat the three biggest guys you could beat in All Japan. You just fell short to Kojima. And on paper, you could say, oh, well, that makes them look bad because they lose to a New Japan guy in the end.
Well, he beat Kojima in the Champion Carnival.
Yeah, and that's another thing. But I think where I'm going with this is I think it will help make Yuma's win that much bigger, so to speak.
Even though Yuma's already beaten Kojima in the Champion Carnival as well.
Well, okay, obviously.
It's Kento that needs to get his win back out of all of the big All Japan names.
Obviously, if the title changes hands, then that will change all of our opinions. I think on this.
I know that All Japan, okay, so I've always said many times that All Japan is even when they're good, is one booking choice away from a disaster.
And that's kind of what I was saying earlier, where it's you could have 6 months of good stuff, and then suddenly everything goes off the rails.
I would say that right now, All Japan is 2 disastrous booking choices away from disaster. They slightly moved up, I think. Things are a little more stable, I think, than they were even in during some of the better times over the last couple of years, I would argue.
I agree.
That's probably because a certain individual is no longer with the company, but no, I mean Tajiri, not Jake.
No, you could say both if you wanted.
No, I mean Jake had probably expended himself and did everything he could and needed to change the scenery, but I think Tajiri was actively harming the company.
No, I always defended Jake's work. Actually, I never hated him as much as the fine folks at the FlowShow did.
I mean, I think it was more we were disappointed with what his potential was.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the Total Eclipse stuff, obviously, and or working back-to-back 30-minute draws. But listen on, folks, you will hear more about those when we go get on. But otherwise, I like Jake, and Tajiri was not. Like you said, him being gone helps everything. So
yeah. So we will take a quick detour into Great because this was the next show that happened. I mostly enjoyed this show, actually.
This was way better than the Sumo Hall show.
Oh yeah, Czech Shimatani defeating Rio Inoue, great little match.
I love Inoue, man. This is my dude. I really believe that we're gonna look at this guy in 3 to 5 years, maybe even sooner. If the only thing he needs is opportunity. Realistically, if they decided they wanted to move him up and give him big matches over and over, he would probably already be looked at this way. But I really think we're going to look at him as one of the best in-ring guys. Maybe not stars, maybe not a main eventer, maybe not even a Triple Crown player, but he in the ring he's going to be listed up there as among the best, in my opinion.
And then Takanori Ito and Ryuki Honda defeated Yusuke Kodama and Hokuto Omori. So it was like Yan's family sort of fighting each other with the final event from Honda on Kodama. I thought it was fun. It was good. And then the Great Chaos Battle. Look, I love Gabai G-Chan. And when Great Nita and Masao Inoue were in the ring, it was perfectly acceptable comedy wrestling.
How did Onitsuka end up in this?
I don't know, but I think him and Jun Tancho in this was sort of a waste.
Yeah, him too. Like that's
Even
another
Cosma.
one.
Hell, even Cosma.
Yeah, like Tancho was in that dream match at the Sumo Hall show earlier in the month with Shima there. And then it's like you go from that to this, and it's like, oh boy.
And then Soma Watanabe, Galeno Del Mal, and Yuma Aoyagi defeated Shuji Ishikawa, Ryuichi Kawakami, and Yuya Susumu, your favorite, with a kick from Watanabe on Susumu. I mean, it was good. It was fun to watch Ishikawa and Galeno. And,
That was fun. But what I can't understand, you have the Triple Crown champion on your show.
I know. He was sort of an afterthought in this match, even.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was like I don't want to say a nobody, but it was like you could have put anybody in his role and it would have been perfectly the same, pretty much. And it's like, man, like show some respect for your own sake, not All Japan's sake, but you have a star on your show. Like, don't treat him like a nobody. Treat him like he's a star.
Mm-hmm. And then Lidet UWF rules Minoru Tanaka and Dan Tamura defeated Yu Iizuka and Hikaru Sato. And I was surprised that this finished. Tamura used a ninja choke on Iizuka. I know Iizuka does a lot of falls, but I didn't think it would be Tamura getting the win. Anyway, that's why I think Tamura should be the Lidet UWF champion. I like this a lot too.
Oh, I love this match. Like this is right up my alley. Sato and Iizuka are a great team.
They really are.
Like they're a perfect fit for each other. I really wish, like, if they could get Iizuka in All Japan more, like I think they're actually a better team stylistically than Sato and Dan are.
Yeah.
Dan's good on his own, but he's more like a power guy. Yeah. Although here he got like you said, he proved his shooter.
He's a grappler.
Yeah, he's a realistic grappler, up there with Takeda and Maeda and so many others. Volkan, Kiyoshi Tamura, everybody. TK, Kosaka, all of them, not Tony Khan, but Yoshi Kosaka. But all of them. But I really loved Iizuka and Sato in this match, and I think it's a great use of Tanaka because he had some matches where they were more normal style and they weren't that great, that you would expect from somebody like him, who's to me one of the best junior heavyweights ever. He really wasn't delivering at that level, but in this UWF style, I think he's got a great thing going. Like you, I was surprised to see Dan getting the win, but I think it's good for him.
Oh, for sure.
It's good for him to get wins anywhere you can get them. And I thought it was interesting because we had just come off the tease of Minoru and Hiromu on the Late Show. They have such a natural storyline with Tanaka being the title record holder for the IWGP Junior title as Heat, of course, a wonderful era of the New Japan Juniors that he was a part of. But no, in all seriousness though, I thought it was a really strong match, and I really enjoyed it overall. And I wish we could see Iizuka. Like him, Sato, Ryo, in a way, it's like they're forming my dream division of wrestlers if they could do that. Any one of them would be better champions than who we have as his champion right now. We're about to talk about his match.
And next up for the PWF World Junior Heavyweight Championship, Al Lindemann defeated Rising Hayato in 11 minutes and 10 seconds with a German suplex hold. And I could tell you that this was going to be the result because they already announced the versus Hiromu Takahashi match for September 3rd before this match even happened. Which I guess you could have done champion versus champion and time limit draw or something, but who knows? Anyway, I mean, I'm not in love with this Lindemann reign, but I thought this was a good match. What was your issue with it? Is that what you were going to say something about this match?
The thing with Lindemann, he had the match with Aoyagi, which I thought was really disappointing.
Yes, that was definitely disappointing.
Then he had the match on Gambari Pro, which was at Sekigahara too. And I thought that was like another really disappointing performance from him in there. And now this, because you put these two guys on paper, and I'm thinking, man, these two are gonna rock the house. Like, like two charismatic, great wrestlers. Good, nice different style for Hayato to face somebody so small like that. I think that would give him a great bump there. And then you watch this match, and it's like, man, this is like there will be 200 matches better than this year probably, and you see these names and you expect it to be something really special. And to me, it was like a fine 10-minute match or however long it was. And Hayato didn't really even get to show like any of his like great tricks that he had. It was just like a fine match. There was nothing wrong with it per se, but Lindeman's kind of concerning me because the last 2 months I've really been let down over and over and over by his matches.
I think Lindemann might be uninterested and probably like, what the fuck is going on with this company?
Well, I can't blame him for that. I mean, hey, I was the number one critic of how they handled his title reign. I think they really did him a disservice as an even great champion with how they used him in the Best of Super Juniors tournament, finishing tied for 7th or whatever there, like never putting him in main events. Never making him feel like the dude in the company that he should have been and he can be because he's such a great talent. But lately, the last couple of months, I definitely feel like he's really gone down a peg, and I don't know why that is. I tend to agree with you, though, honestly, that like he's not doing anything important, so he's not really putting his heart into it, and he might have already been disenchanted with everything going on in the company itself. So I do think that this could have been a lot better, though, in my opinion. The only glimmer of hope I have is who his next opponent will be. If they let me down, then I'm done with Lindemann. Like, if you can't have a great match with Sato, then you're over for me. It's time to get the hook.
Yes, Hikaru Sato came out after the match to challenge Lindemann, and that match will happen. I think not till like September 20 something at Korakuen.
And let me ask you this, Gerard: what's the end game for this time?
I think it's just going to be Atsuki.
We're just gonna go back.
It's the Koji Iwamoto special.
Yeah, we saw. It's for one thing, I will say it's nice to see him back around again.
Absolutely,
it's very good. But we saw how well that worked back then.
Yeah, it ran its course.
Yeah,
and he got stale.
And that's the thing. It's like his talent level was never the problem with him. It's how they used him. And Atsuki you don't want him to fall into that same trap.
Nope.
The good thing about him is he's a different style of wrestler, right?
So more charismatic. I mean, let's be honest.
He is, and just a more exciting wrestler in general. Yeah. Even though I like Iwamoto a lot, don't get me wrong, but he's just a very exciting guy. You could always see him pulling out a new move or something like that you could turn things around and kind of give him an automatic bump, maybe change his gear at some point. Always do stuff with his brother as a tag team, and what they do with the faction. You could get a lot out of him that you didn't have the same amount of options with Iwamoto as you have now because the company's in a better spot than it was when he was around. But that is really troubling to me. There's a lot about this that's troubling. The matches haven't been up to par to what I expected. It's not that they're bad. It's just that they aren't at the level you want. Then they don't even care enough about this title match to not even announce the match with Hiromu before it happened. It showed you that like, oh, the title doesn't matter. This is the real big match. He's facing Hiromu, a real star.
Well, it felt like the title mattered not even that long ago.
I know. Remember when Atsuki won over Doi? Yeah. That felt like a great story and payoff.
Or when they let Atsuki and Hayato main event Korakuen.
That was another great.
The way that Kento was like going insane on commentary, like made it like put it over like like a huge match.
And that's why this is so weird and troubling to me that we're at this point now to where all of this stuff is happening when not that long ago, like you just mentioned, 2 great moments there that were great for the division. It felt like they were turning a corner. You've got 2 young ace type of players, maybe not, maybe you only need one as the ace, but they're both main event junior type of players anyway.
I mean, Hayato's got to be 1B or it's going to be a huge waste, I think, of his talents.
And you would have thought that he would have won it this time over Lindemann. Like that would have been the logical end to this. But now I have more questions than answers. Maybe it will all lead to something great in the end. But if that's how it ends on paper, I don't like that. I wish that they would do something else.
Yeah,
to be honest. Yeah.
But I mean, like, If I had to pick and choose something, gun to my head, I'd say Atski's beating Lindemann. That's just
Yeah,
given
and if
history
not
and
him,
precedent. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, it's like who else
Dan,
could it be?
I don't know.
They're doing a decent job of building him up a little bit. I will give him that, but I would agree that you would rather it be Atsuki on paper. Overall, it's just how we've got here is so weird that
Yeah.
maybe it'll go they'll flip flop. It feels like no matter who wins though, it's going to be the same spot with somebody else.
Yeah.
Like some other outsider will just beat him 3 months later, and we'll be doing the same cycle. Which it seems like we've been doing this since Susumu was around.
Yeah, for sure. And then, although that was a great reign.
No, I love that reign. Yeah, Susumu was
amazing
awesome.
reign.
Bring
Yeah.
Susumu back and let him be the champion.
Yeah. And then next up for the G Infinity title, Jun Saito and Rei Saito defeated Kotaro Suzuki and Hartley Jackson in 13 minutes and 48 seconds with a diving body press from Rei on Jackson for their third successful defense of the titles, which was, I'm actually surprised they made this many successful defense of the titles. Hartley Jackson is cooked. It looks like he's in pain walking.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, well, I'll get to this later because they had a rematch today.
Yep.
This was just passable, I guess.
It could have been a lot worse.
Oh yeah. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, just look at some of their other matches in late. I think this might have I'm not gonna say it was good, but it was better than you could have expected it. Suzuki, obviously a legendary guy, but not at his peak either.
Mhm.
And Hartley, I mean, he was never like a 5-star match type of guy. He was like, oh, he's got a great body.
No, but like the thing is with the Saitos, if you just put him in there with another big guy, like
That's where
Cyrus they can surprise you. But
Yeah.
Jackson is too cooked to do that.
Yeah, you're right about that. And that is kind of their MO.
Just wait till I mean, okay, I'll jump ahead of myself. I thought
Okay.
today's match was significantly better.
Maybe they're more motivated.
Yeah, I thought the Saitos had put on some of their best individual performances on today's match.
Do you think
It wasn't their best match, but they looked more confident, more in control, less like lost, and I really do think they're improving.
No, I've always liked them. It's just,
and also they haven't been doing the bullshit
exactly. And that's exactly what I'm saying. Like that, I actually always liked them. Like even when they were young lions, I liked them more than everybody, pretty much. Once they went to the Voodoo Murders and started doing all that bullcrap, that's when things really took a turn south. And I think even they, in general, just took a huge turn south. But lately, like it could have been again. I feel the same way. It's like it could have been a lot worse overall. Like what we were seeing from them, I thought they've both the carnival and the tournament here, the Odo tournament, they both showed good singular performances. Them as a tag team. But what I was going to ask you is, did they already announce that they were going to have a rematch, or do you think they knew that they were going to do a second match like a couple of days later in All Japan?
Oh, they announced that day.
Yeah, so it makes sense that they probably took it easy the first match, and then just like, oh, we're going to do this match again anyway. Why they did it twice in 1 week?
Oh, but it's also the same thing when traditionally it's like when you work oh my god, what am I the word I'm looking for? When you work, what was it called? Like when you work a tour or you have the old touring matches. And you're working against the same guy every night. Your matches generally get better. Right. This is the one thing I've heard about WWE house shows. I've never been to a WWE house show, but like if you go to a show after like the end when people have been working together, like what was it? I heard like FTR and Alpha Academy had all these great matches and stuff, like, and they would go out in 20 minutes on the loop and everything like that, right?
Yeah.
And so like, and so I think there's some of that like more familiarity, because I don't know how much these guys had ever worked with each other and everything like that.
Yeah, they would never even had the opportunity really to work with each other on an extended basis. Do you think that they cared more in All Japan than in Glade?
The Saitos might have.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going.
Speaking of Karen, I should add this did 692 fans, which not great.
No, I mean that's Noah tier.
Yeah. And then in the main event, the great and all Japan super generational struggle, Kaz Hayashi, T-Hawk, Suwama, and Kento Miyahara defeated Hayato Tamura, Tetsuya Izuchi, Yuma Anzai, and Atsuki Aoyagi in 20 minutes and 49 seconds with a night ride from T-Hawk on Aoyagi, which I don't know. Come on, Kaz was right there to get a pin from like Hayato Tamura or something.
Yeah, no.
It was
This
a fun
is
match. But
it was all right. Again, I did you see these names and you think, okay,
Yeah.
this is gonna be a banger. And then it's like, oh, that was pretty good.
Yeah. I guess, they put over their champion strong.
And it was ultimately this was only just to set up what was gonna happen after.
Yeah.
So.
And then T-Hawk or said he wanted to defend his title against someone in All Japan, and then Shuji came out.
The big dog himself. This is another chance to kind of bring on your other point. He gets another chance here. If he can deliver a really good match against T-Hawk, that's another, tip of the cap to him this year. Like always stepping up when he's called upon.
Yeah. And then of course the big debut of SB Kanto and Takuma Fujiwara after that.
I was really surprised how many people thought that they were like going to stay in Mexico like long term and just be luchadors, because I was like, how are they going to do that? Just be indie luchadors in Mexico? Like that's not going to last.
Well, I mean, other guys have done it. Doki, Utani.
That is true, although they did come back around eventually.
Yeah, of course.
But and I just thought, man, these guys, the thing is, those guys were like super indie dudes, and SBK and Fujiwara were like in Dragon Gate.
Yeah.
So like they had the opportunity. I figured, I really suspected they were going to come back a lot sooner than people thought, and here we are. Pretty much like them being late. I don't know if they really mean that much now, if you really think about it. I mean, Fujiwara was like fresh guy in Dragon Gate. Yeah. It's not like he has any star power to him. And SBK did, but that was 2 years ago. His like title reign, and he's been gone ever since, pretty much. And even then, it was like a good, like a solid Brave Gate run. It wasn't like he was the ace of the company or anything. I just don't know how much star power these two actually bring to Japan, other than pissing off people in Dragon Gate.
Well, I mean, my thought of this is like, oh, these guys left under, controversial circumstances from Dragon Gate. Right. Perhaps that means that someone will give two other wrestlers from another promotion who left under these controversial circumstances a chance as well.
It's funny because I don't know if you like tried to find any answers about that, but that is like
nothing.
It's like a government secret. Like nobody will talk about anything related to that. Like overall, like I don't know what they did or what happened, but it's like nobody wants to talk about it. Like it peep. Like they're persona non grata.
Well, did you know that? I don't know if you watched the English commentary. Oh yeah, because you only want to watch one match on today's Noah show. But, during the Nakajima match, Stuart Fulton said, "Oh, and Nakajima knocked out a former roster member with that last year without even mentioning his name."
Literally persona non grata. They're like, we don't even want you to say their names. Have they been on social media? Because I think I
don't think so.
Yeah, they bounced. I don't know what happened, but it can't have been good. I'm like,
well, it was last minute from all accounts.
Yeah, I mean, I would really love to know, but I think this may be one of those things that we never see those two ever anywhere.
Oh,
again.
I mean, not that I think Okada was like top guy material, but I really liked Yano. Well, I liked Okada.
Yeah, I liked both of them.
But I thought they had plans for Yano.
Yeah, and I mean they need people in the junior division.
Of course.
I mean, we've seen the plans they've had for
Junta. He was
like
21, 22, Yano anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we've seen the plans they've had for Junta as well since then. And
he might have pissed someone off too, but
we just don't know. At the end of the day, we have no knowledge. We don't even have a hint because, like with SBK and Fujiwara, everybody speculates pretty much, and it's like very easy. But with those guys, it's like they don't even want to say their names on commentary now. But I know when they showed up, SBK and Fujiwara to this, it's like Yamato was like, he posted something on social media. Was like, screw those guys, or like, I'm just gonna drink myself out of this, or something like that. Um, he said something negative that everyone points to.
Yamato strikes me as a guy who drinks a lot.
And I'm not judging him for this.
No.
but I'm sure a lot of people were pissed when they showed up at Egg Late, though. They were like, "What the?"
Oh,
like,
of course.
yeah.
But I mean, Shima wanted to turn the screw.
Oh, you totally. Shima just what a worker that guy is. I mean, unbelievable level.
I want to know the story about him doing that job to Yuma Enzai and how that came about.
Yeah, that was so weird when that happened. I don't know. Maybe they were like, what have they gotten from all
They
this?
probably booked out the whole year working with All Japan, and that was something that was traded.
Yeah, but even
like
then, so it's like
Ishikawa or something doing the job to T-Hawk.
I guess that's true, and T-Hawk did get a respectable push.
Yeah,
drew a great house with Ashino as well.
Yeah,
for the Champion Carnival final. But then you look at it, it's like, also we're gonna have the Saito brothers be the tag champions for a million years. It seems like.
Well, I mean, that's a feather in All Japan's cap because I think that's given them good experience as tag champions. Before
that's what I'm saying.
All Japan.
It seems like All Japan has gotten more than Glate has out of all of this. Other than I guess
for sure. Although Great's getting their wins now.
Yeah, and now if T-Hawk beats Ishikawa, then that kind of evens things out. Yeah, it's all right. Like it's a good little relationship.
It is.
Glate for all of their booking problems. I like their roster a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
I
forgot to mention on that main event. I love like Tetsuya Izuchi's and Kento's rivalry.
Yeah, he's another guy.
Even though Izuchi's never going to get that win over Kento, it's still entertaining.
No, and there are so many guys you can point to that would be like, man, I wish that they would do this guy better. And there's like 5 guys you can point to: Izuka,
even
Jun
Tancho,
exactly, another one.
Well, he was a guy that when Wrestle 1 went up, I was like, come on, All Japan, come on.
Soma. I thought his match with T-Hawk was really strong.
Oh, yeah.
And like he could have those matches all the time. It's just they put him on the bench for like the whole time for some reason. You can point to him. It's like, man, you've got to say again, we're already at 4 or 5 guys now. So it's like, man, they have a roster of great talent. The women's division could be something, but then they just do weird stuff. It's just a weird company, but I don't hate it as much as some people do. Mm-hmm. I look at them as like, okay, I don't really have any investment in anything, but I could easily go to YouTube, put that on the TV, kick back and watch 2 hours of good wrestling. Like a good high-speed wrestling for the most part, and occasionally you'll get something really cool with the UWF scene, or Fujita will have a match or something like that. That's very good. So, but I don't have any emotional investment in anything they're doing because of how they are.
You can't.
Exactly. But it's a fun company. Turn your brain off for 2 hours and watch some good wrestling. It'll be kind of
fun. And then we move on back to All Japan for the finals of the Royal Road Odo tournament in the Nagoya International Conference Hall in front of 921 fans, which is what they usually do in Nagoya, which is good for All Japan standards, but they can't seem to break 1,000, which I thought they might for this show.
Yeah, you would have wanted to when you have the New Japan guy in your semifinals. Maybe that's what I think, because they always say.
So I consider this a slight disappointment, but at the same time, this is also like they're like whenever they do 900 fans outside of Tokyo, that's good for them. So
I totally get what you're saying by All Japan standards, But on the other hand, this beat the show that Noah did in June, where it was Jake and Sugiura, which was a wonderful match. I really loved that.
Absolutely.
Like a fantastic match, better than the match on this show, but still, this actually did a better number than that. So that's kind of interesting.
Yep.
You always look at these kind of venues, and it seems like All
Japan. I mean, I think All Japan. If you take out the Muto involved shows this year, the gap between the two companies is not very big.
Yeah, that's something we always look at, because if you look at these kind of outside shows, it feels like All Japan's always got a slight one-up on Noah, and Noah has a lot of advantages over them. Yeah. So it's always interesting to see that.
I don't know what kind of revenue Abima in general generates, but
that's a good point.
Cyber Fight's return on the dollar for Noah, I don't think is great,
Maybe
especially when Muto's gone.
probably any of their companies right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Although
yeah.
DDT is doing a little better since Brooks won the title, but it's they've still got a long way to go.
Yeah, for sure. So the first step, Renai Abe and Igo Blanc defeated Ryo Inoue and your boy Konaka Pale won
Yes.
with a 450 splash from Blanc on Konaka. I think Blanc is like here for another week or two, but I think he's gone before Yoyogi.
What a weird team. Him and Ayabe together.
Yeah, the tall guys.
And Konaka and Inoue too. That's another dream team here. But
yeah.
yeah, not the best use of these guys in my opinion. I think they would have been better off facing other people actually.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think Igo Blanc versus Ryo Inoue would have been a nice little singles match. Especially
anybody
could use it.
Yeah, anybody versus Inoue is gonna be like, okay. Like I have such faith in Inoue right now as a wrestler.
And then semi-final match, Ryuki Honda defeated Suwama in 7 minutes and 28 seconds of the final event. I mean, I like this because they just got down to business right away.
Yeah, it's perfect.
No, like plotting Suwama beat down sequence.
Yeah, and it's good, like because we have a final coming up. We can't waste time on these semifinal matches that are going to be forgotten.
Next up, Satoshi Kojima defeated Shuji Ishikawa in 10:44 with the Lariat. I thought this was fun.
Yeah, totally agree. It's like they put. It sounds like a backhanded compliment, but it's like you did the minimum to get through in a good way. It's not like this. There's nothing wrong with this, but it's not like anything anybody.
I mean, combined age of these two guys is like 100. That's about that. I mean, Kojima's what 52 now, and Ishikawa's 48, something like that. I mean, the two older guys.
Yeah, and 52 and 47, 99.
Yeah, and plus, Kojima's got to go twice.
Yeah.
And then Hayato Tamura and Kazuma Sakamoto defeated Hokuto Omori and Naoki Tanizaki in 9 minutes and 36 seconds. I thought this was pretty good, but then Omori got sloppy towards the end.
I'm so baffled that Tanizaki is on an All Japan run right now because I just think back to the old days when I was watching when he was still in Dragon Gate. He was like one of the lowest ranked guys on the roster, like Mr. QQ Dolphin. Like, what was his nickname in Dragon Gate? And it's like, this is crazy. Like in 2023, we're seeing the renaissance of Naoki Tanizaki in All Japan, which still isn't like
he's a guy. He's been a solid hand, I think.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with him in All Japan at all. It's just it's just such a random person because he's really been out of the spotlight for like 7 years now, basically from Dragon Gate.
Yeah,
and we're working your Dove Pro type of yeah, exactly. So it's like now suddenly in 2023, bring him in, and it's like. But they're kind of good about that. I mean, Suki was like the champion, for the he was another of our revolving door of outsider junior champions was Sugi-san. But it's like they bring in these guys who have disappeared for years, and they're like, bring him in, let's give him a run, and it's working. Like you said, for his level, there's nothing wrong with what he's doing.
No, and he could be the fall guy in that nameless faction.
Yeah, I wish they give that. All I want is a name, Gerard. I have such low expectations, and you still let me down with this.
And then for the HAPW TV 6-man tag team title and the KOD 6-man tag team titles in a double title match. Are they even still called Eruption?
They are.
Okay. Yukio Sakaguchi, Saki Akai, and Hideki Okatani defeated ATM, Takao Omori, and Black Monster Ray in 8:51 when Akai used the rookie award on ATM. I mean, I thought Eruption might win, but I did not expect Saki Akai to pin the mark.
Oh, he loved it. He's just like Suwama. Like, this is his fantasy come to life.
Yeah, right I was going to say something like that, or maybe wanted to show some respect on her retirement tour.
Oh, yeah, all about respect. Great cover there.
I mean, well, it's fine.
This is such a... What... Let me ask you this. What has inspired this DDT in All Japan? Another thing that's kind of basically come out at random.
I don't know. I really don't, but I'm okay with it as long as you don't bring the comedy guys over to All Japan.
Why can't DDT work with their own sister company? I don't
know.
So many questions I have, but I'm with you though. I mean, this is fine. Like, I mean, it's the 6-man titles. It's not like
this is better than those other 6-man title matches with like that Black Tiger guy and
Oh, those were, oh my God. That
all
was some
that
of the,
crap.
yeah, that was some of the worst.
I'll just say this though: if Saki Akai retires these titles, I don't mind.
I mean, like I said, this is so random, but it's a nice gesture on her way out, I guess, and it solidifies your burgeoning company relationship that you have, I guess. Like I said, it's the 6-man titles. Am I really supposed to get that upset about this goofy stuff?
Exactly. I mean, look at them and look at the people that challenge for these titles.
Yeah, the champions were just as goofy as as Eruption, so it's not like
I mean, I get why you put these titles on your money mark and stuff like that. I can respect.
Yeah,
that.
of course, we have to respect the money marks in wrestling. They keep this ship afloat. People,
you want to put these titles on the Sponge guy? I'm all for it.
Well, look at how long we've seen other companies run like this and crazy things that have happened. But yeah, do you think there's any? What's the upside to you as a fan with this DDT and All Japan? Do you have any hopes for anything?
Kazusada Higuchi in the Champion Carnival.
That's the dream, right? That's what we want. And hey, they won't mind him losing the Champion Carnival.
Yeah, they don't. They totally dropped the ball. I mean, you should have saw it coming, but right. I mean, the first couple months of his title run, I was like, oh, they finally have done it. And then no.
Yeah, but that's the dream. You have to think that. I just think it's interesting that for their big 50th anniversary show, Jun Akiyama isn't on it, but a year later they're doing stuff like we couldn't have done this then.
Well, a certain someone is gone.
True.
I don't know what the relationship was like, but it just seems interesting that certain people are now coming back out of the woodwork that were previously gone.
Yeah, you're right on that. That's a good point on your part, but that's kind of what I want to see. I like to see. I think that Yuma versus Akiyama would mean something. Like that's kind of like the last thing.
I agree. Well, look, I think you can pop one more house with Akiyama
exactly
in All Japan in the Triple Crown match.
Yeah, I don't have dreams of like a long-term storyline, but for one match, and it would be a nice scalp for Yuma to have.
Absolutely.
It kind of also fits him into the legacy of All Japan in general. Like, hey, I beat a guy who was here in the 90s.
I mean, Kento beat Akiyama in his first title reign.
And it meant a lot when he did it. Like that totally helped to establish him.
In Hakata Star Lanes, RIP.
Oh yeah, a wonderful bowling alley that it was, a venue in and of itself. But yeah, that was in July. It sucked because that match. I remember that match was so damn good. That was in my top 10 that year. But it was like right as the G1 was starting, was that match happened. And but they did a lot. He beat Omori too. Kento did. That was his first defense. Then they bridged to Akiyama. I give Yuma that win. I think that would help him a lot. That's kind of what I'm looking for. But yeah, from a wrestling standpoint, Higuchi is the guy that you want. If you're not familiar with DDT, somebody like him would bring a ton, and he'd fit right in too. Great size.
I don't know. Is he a mix between Tenru and Von Erich?
Hey, listen, the claw, baby. Like I said, Tenru plus claw. That is his deal. Great. One of the best running shoulder tackles anywhere in wrestling too. You could see maybe Ueno doing something in the junior division. He might be the next revolving door guy that you can point the junior title to after Atsuki wins it. Ueno can win it from him and do this whole merry-go-round.
You know what it's going to be, because this is All Japan. It's going to be more Yuki Onaya.
That's not who I said.
You know how this company runs, right?
And yes,
they'll take anyone over 6'3" and stick them on a card.
Oh yeah, DDT would. Do you have any? Are they really going to do more with Suwama and DDT?
I feel like Suwama's in the part of his career where he wants to do comedy.
I do too. I think this was probably partly his idea.
I don't think that it's out of the question that he comes and does goofy stuff in DDT.
And Sato's a DDT guy from before as well. So that whole
and we know he'll do goofy stuff.
Oh yeah, just look at any of his indie run, pretty much there. But yeah, so it's okay. I just thought it was really random that it's happening now, more or less.
Yeah. And then the G Infinity title, we talked about this. This one 11:01, which is a couple minutes shorter. I thought it was a better match. I thought the Saitos looked very good. They're looking a lot more confident in the ring. They're not looking lost. I don't know. This tag title run was probably the right idea, and I think they might, because that Ishikawa versus T-Hawk match I think is in October at Korakuen, and I could see them losing those G Infinity titles in October, and I think that puts them in contention for the Real World Tag League once they drop those G Infinity titles.
That all is very logical.
I mean, how much, like, if you ever, like, maybe they're just going to keep them where they are, plotting around in the mid card. But if you're ever going to do something with them, you kind of got to do it.
Yeah, they're older than you expect, being young.
They'll be 37 in December.
Yeah, exactly. And again, if it's not hit them, then who is the other options? Because it'll all be retreads.
It's always been thin at the top. I mean,
yeah,
they're thin on credible tag teams at the world tag title level. I mean, if you look at every world tag league, I mean, real world tag leagues have had bizarre thrown together teams since the 1970s.
Yeah.
All some of the people that like Abdullah the Butcher has teamed with over the years or something like that. One year he was like teaming with Savio Vega.
Bring back the Eagle.
Yeah.
And if it is somebody big, it'll be somebody like Kento and Yuma, a retread team.
Yeah,
or something like that. Like, why not give somebody new a chance and see what they can do? Maybe they could pop off against a match with Kento and Yuma for the tag titles.
I mean, I think they would be. That's the kind of. I mean, at this point, you kind of want, if they win those titles, you want them to beat them for it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that, to me, there really aren't any better options that they could do outside. Again, if you're like just
and if we think about it now, it's like, okay, so when would they drop the titles? They dropped the titles to them in January after Real World Tag League. That's you keep getting them reps. That's probably the time you got to do it. I don't know.
It's just weird because they're having the big show in December, which will be in the middle of the tag league. So I don't know what their plan is with double champion Yuma. We have to get through the title first, so let's not speak too fast. But your idea, everything you said to me makes perfect sense. Like, it helps Glade, and the run has helped the Saitos. It's made All Japan look big time. To me, there's really no downside to this title reign, even though
Saitos are TV stars now.
Yeah, let's not forget about that.
They're on some, like, I don't know. I don't want to call it cable access, but I don't think I think it's like local TV.
I wrestled on that channel. You're talking to a public access TV champion in his day. I'll have you know, Gerard.
Oh wow! Okay,
that's right. I was. Like I said, Channel 6 back a long time ago.
But I think, and it's like, I can't remember, what is it like? They go around and they eat like local food or something and try it. I don't know, but
what is the obsession with these guys? Like, what is so special, do you think, so captivating and so magical about wrestlers eating food that seems to always sweep the nation?
Because, well, I mean, it's not, well, I mean,
you had Nakanishi with the breakfast, you had Makabe
because wrestlers are colorful characters, and it's always, when they do like normal human things, it's always got the gimmick, right?
It's amusing to some people, it seems like.
See wrestlers do normal things.
Yeah,
we're all large men. Yeah,
especially, like all of those guys I mentioned were all very big. So
yeah,
but remember that we're all people deep down. We got to eat.
Got to eat bread.
Yeah. Oh, that's another one. Yeah, Kojima, another food guy. Good segue.
Well, actually, I thought I was segueing, but we forgot about Yuji Nagata, Kyle Sato, Dan Tamura, Takuya Nomura, and Fuminori Abe. What a team! Defeated Kento Miyahara, Yuma Aoyagi, Atsuki Aoyagi, Rising Hayato, and Yoshitatsu in 13:58 with the Nagata lock. I think he calls it the 54 with the choke.
Okay, just like the 53 years old.
Arms around the neck, on Yoshitatsu, of course, which is great, right? You don't want like Atsuki doing another job, but I love the fact that Yoshitatsu is now doing jobs when there's juniors in matches. That's funny to me.
Like you said, could he be on the way out, or could they have just realized this isn't Yoshitatsu?
Yeah, I mean, that could be it too, right? He hasn't left yet. Maybe he never will. This was fun. They brawled to the outside. I thought that Sato did some fun stuff in here. The astronauts were a lot of fun, especially stuff with between the juniors and the astronauts. And after the match, all 5 guys did the Nagata salute, and then Miyahara was like on the outside angrily yelling at them, which I thought was hilarious.
That was so. I was so impressed by this match, and then like the post match at the end, like you said, was just phenomenal. This is Kento's true spirit. It's like
Yeah.
Sato being a weirdo deep down. Like Kento,
And
well, it's been said, Kento Hogan. Exactly. Kento maniacs are on the rise once again here. Just pissed at seeing Nagata get all this love and all 5 of them. And it was just so funny to see Takuya Nomura do this salute was just awesome to me for whatever reason. With Abe and Sato, I could buy it because they're goofy guys, but to see Takuya do it just warmed my heart. To see Miyahara so angry at this, as he should be. He doesn't want the salute in All Japan. He doesn't want to see this crap. He wants the people to do the Kento bang his head against the turnbuckles. Why didn't they do that?
Yeah. Do you remember the spot? I think it was in one of those All Japan versus New Japan things with the Young Lions where Kento did his fake out spot, but he did like the Nagata salute before drop kicking Nagata.
Yes, I do. It was awesome.
I like rewound that like 20 times and laughed my ass off every time.
Oh, it was perfect. Like it was exactly what you want out of Kento. And,
exactly.
Just such a fun guy.
It is impressive that he's actually a babyface with what he does.
Kento Hogan.
But he has yet to do something like what Hogan did to Ultimate Warrior at the end of Wrestling 6.
That's true. He needs to, if they get around to this Yuma and Kento match and he big times him at the end, that's how you know he truly is. Like he's made his transformation into the red and yellow.
So, I mean, Kento is always seems like he's a pretty good team player in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. A fun player, a good dude. But still, we cannot forget the Kento Maniacs.
No. And then in the finals of Royal Road tournament, Satoshi Kojima defeated Ryuki Honda in 17 minutes to the Lariat. To be honest, I really thought Honda was going to win this because, I mean, the show where he's challenging Yuma is in like Nagaoka. It's like, I mean, it's a kind of a loaded show for them, but it's still, I figured like outside of Tokyo, you can do Honda as the challenger, give Honda the rub, but this works too. And you're right. Like this sort of helps. I mean, I hope Yuma wins, but this really makes Yuma's first title reign something special. Because I don't know how long it's actually going to last.
Yeah.
But if he can beat Suwama and he can beat like Kojima, and it's a nice little redemption story for Kojima returning to the company. I mean, the Royal Road tournament doesn't mean that much.
Yeah, it's not like it's not even
it's not the Champion Carnival, and it's not even as big in All Japan as the New Japan Cup is in New Japan. I don't think. Doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
So, Kojima wins. Good match. I thought this was better than their match in the Champion Carnival, and I really liked that. I thought it was structured also in a way that kept you guessing. Right?
I definitely thought this was better than the Carnival match overall. I wasn't as huge of a fan of that one, actually. Again, it was okay in the Carnival, but I thought this time they really reached another level from there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anything that I would say is like,
I think this is probably like, I don't want to say this because God knows Yuma might pull something out of him even better.
Yeah.
But this, I think, is probably like peak Kojima at this time.
Yeah, I think you're about right. Him in All Japan. I mean, his run in the Carnival wasn't littered with great matches, to be honest.
Well, they were all great against the good guys.
Yeah, Kento and Yuma.
Well, also, I'm sorry, that Cyrus match was a lot of fun. I don't care.
It was better than Cyrus matches versus T-Hawk.
Yes.
I would say.
But Kojima vanquishing the big guy is always fun.
Yeah, Kojima's such a likable guy. Like
Exactly.
it just in the ring, he's such a good babyface character that I was pretty in on him winning. It's not like I completely wrote off Honda winning because it would have made a lot of sense if you look at how his runs been.
Yeah.
But I just figured, man, they're probably going to want to do the New Japan guy in this bigger show because a lot of people thought that Kento would win.
Yep.
When you look at the predictions at the start of the tournament. It's just things went a little weird and haywire. Then they announced there would be the tag match, Kojima versus Yuma in the tag match. Shout out to Jessie from Talking Triple Crown. She mentioned that on her page. I saw, and I was thinking, man, I guess Kojima, why not? Like I said, he's a, if they want to squeeze a little bit more juice out of this orange of this New Japan relationship, I'm for it. And Honda has a right to a title shot too now that he's beaten Yuma. So it's like you kind of kill two birds with one stone. If Kojima wins, that really sours my opinion on all this.
Well, I agree, but here's the thing. I was looking. You know that upcoming New Japan tour with that best of 7 series with Nagata versus Strong Style? Kojima's booked on those shows, a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This could be the end of Kojima after Yuma beats him, which I think is what this is going to be.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think is going to happen too. Like, I really think that Yuma's going to win. Maybe we'll be proven wrong. I mean, you can never completely write off.
Kojima's not going to be around because he's booked on all these New Japan shows.
I don't think it's that bad. Like that he's gone. Either. He's served his purpose.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I don't know how much of this you saw, and again, this is Twitter, so but there's a lot of Japanese All Japan fans that thought it's too many outsiders with all the titles in this company.
I was going to ask you
April
that.
and May.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
I don't know how to extrapolate that. Now, Paul has a theory that's why Korakuen's down, but they're drawing everywhere else because they alienated some hardcores.
I can buy that. I mean, again, even bring up Jessie again. She even said the same thing about when Eruption won the titles. It's like you look at the titles.
Oh, come on.
They're all out. I mean, this is the 6-man titles. We will not disrespect the legacy of the 6-man titles on this show. But I mean, honestly, though, not just that. The All Asia titles, the Junior titles, Gaura title. It's like 4 of your 6 titles are on outsiders at the moment. Or 4 of your 5 are on. So it's like, man, I kind of see where they're coming from saying that. I think they need kind of a similar thing to what we just described with Glade. They need a show where All Japan gets the upper hand finally, and like they reclaim everything, just one fell swoop. All Japan's back, baby. All the titles are here, and you can kind of build behind or build around, I should say, your champion, so to speak. And
remember on the 50th anniversary show where All Japan got victories over New Japan, Noah, and AEW all in one show.
That's correct. You're absolutely right on that end. And that led to some things turning around because, like I said, to me, the build to the Budokan was really bad. I was totally uninterested in that. But that was kind of one of the starts of their turnaround was during that show. They still were a little out of whack, though, because then you had Nomura Challenge like one day later, and it was like really weird. But they got there. And I think they're getting there now, too. So I hope that we can see more of that. Make your guys look a little stronger.
In defense of the Nomura one day turnaround, is they announced that triple crown match was going to happen on Korakuen the next day, and that's when Joe Doring was still booked.
Yeah.
So it was pretty clear that Doring was going to beat Jake and then lose to Kento.
Even still, I don't like the idea of doing your 50th anniversary show and then one day later, like doing a title shot.
I think it was like, we got Joe, let's just do this.
Yeah, and I understand, but I still don't approve.
Yeah.
I still don't like it.
I don't like back-to-back title defenses.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is they got there. They got away from all of that. They're in a better spot now than they were a year ago.
Oh, absolutely.
You go back a year ago, but up to that Budokan show, it was all negative. You, me, Striga, everybody, pretty much was like real not impressed with what they were doing. And we're at a good spot now. I think, like I said, if Kojima just loses this to Yuma and that's the end of him in All Japan, that's totally fine. Like realistically, again, where else would he go at that point? If he's lost the Triple Crown, he doesn't, at that point, you're just like saying, hey, wrestle the young guys. Like that's basically the most value you can get out of him. And at that point, just let him be in New Japan, do his goofy 7-match series with Strong Style in that case.
And then so we look ahead to All Japan upcoming September 2nd in Nagano, which I believe is the Aoyagi's hometown. We've got Yuma Aoyagi, Ren Ayabe, and Shuji Ishikawa versus Kento Miyahara, Satoshi Kojima, and Yuma Anzai. That should be fun. We got Ryuki Honda versus Hokuto Omori. Maybe Honda will finally get revenge for getting knocked out. Yoshitatsu and Takanori Ito versus Takao Omori and Ryo Inoue. Interesting. I forgot to mention this was teased after the G Infinity match today, but Dan Tamura came out to challenge the Saitos. So we're getting Suwama and Dan Tamura versus the Saito brothers. But right now it's not listed as a title match either for the Tenru Project United National or the G Infinity tag titles. But I'm actually really looking forward to that match.
I think
it's gonna be a lot of fun.
The two truly prestigious titles.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, look at those UN titles, tag titles. I mean, that's prestigious. You got first champions, Yuma Aoyagi, one of them, now Suwama,
Listen, there's no way
I'm looking for some indie titles.
I will never criticize Tenru Project as a company that pushes Hikaru Sato as a main eventer.
And also they booked Koji Iwamoto.
That's right. I like seeing Iwamoto because he was in Big Japan too. I listed for Big Japan, now back in All Japan. So it's nice seeing him around again in some good promotions. It's kind of like, you hope. I mean, obviously it's sad because of the injury, but it's like when Nomura started popping up again in bigger companies. Like you get a really good feeling about it, and hopefully Iwamoto's run, we can see him around a lot more going forward.
Yeah, and then provided by JTO, as I teased earlier, there'd be more JTO involvement. Tomoka Inaba and Azusa Onaba versus Ao. How do you say it? Aoi?
Yeah,
Aoi and Hisoka.
Love it. I mean, the Inaba sisters are fantastic.
How many matches has Azusa had?
I think she just started in February or something.
Yeah. I mean, you knew that she was fresh because she lost in Great.
Yes, that was the clue there. I liked Paul's breakdown of her UWF match with Fukuda though, when they had that, and how much better she looked than Fukuda in there. Yeah. Which paid off in the kickboxing match that Fukuda had, and how that turned out, which was not good. But Azusa is still prodigy level talent, even though she's so young, so new. She's really good. And Tomoka, everybody already knows is great.
Yeah.
Those two are like two of the better women's wrestlers that All Japan's brought in. I'd love to see them stick around more. And if you could get your hooks in on these JTO talents, this will only help that women's division you were talking about, having these girls in there. I really like Aoi. I think that she's a really good young talent as well. Hisoka is okay as well. Let's see what she can do here on a bigger stage. She might show out and impress the people, but I'm really looking forward to the sisters. I think that they're going to really be great.
And then September 3rd in Nagaoka, as we said, Rising Hato versus Hiromu Takahashi. I've got high expectations. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Is Hiromu going to bring his A game here? Because we saw him against Yamato, and it wasn't that great.
I don't know.
If you're going to say that you think Hayato is better than Yamato, I agree with you.
But the thing is, Hayato is more like a young guy that's going to try to push Hiromu, whereas Yamato is not going to do that.
Yeah, I agree, and I agree with you on that. And I hope that Hiromu's motivated in this match to really make something out of it, because it feels like he's not. It's like these New Japan guys coming in, even Ishii in the Dragon Gate show last week. It feels like they kind of think non-New Japan companies are kind of a step down sometimes.
Well, Hiromu, I don't know about Hiromu because he's definitely tried to do his junior stuff.
Yeah, he had the show in America.
Yeah, and the
less said the better. The junior festival was pretty good. It'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it, but I agree with you. On paper, this should be a great match.
Yeah. Special 6-woman tag match: Chihiro Hashimoto, Yuriko Oka, and Millie McKenzie, the new Marvelous champion, versus Michiko Aoi and Lena Cross. That's sort of like a random button pressed
Fire Pro randomizer match.
I've never seen Cross, so I don't know.
Yeah,
McKenzie, but I've never seen Cross.
Yeah, she's one of these they brought in. I also around that ever Sydney Girls, Marvelous, and all that universe that you bring in these underground Joshi talents pretty much. I think my friend Yannick, he was at the show live where she was there. It was like her and Akari was one of the girls there, one of the best Joshi wrestlers. Yu Mizunami. It was like a random 6-man tag they did, a 6-woman tag at Sendai Girls, like July 16th. But yeah, good for them. They're getting bookings.
Oh, right. Sorry, Millie McKenzie won the Sendai Girls title, right?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
Marvelous. Yeah.
Yeah, she beat Oscar.
Marvelous is the triple AW, 3AW.
Yeah, the old school Gaia title there, but just reversed.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. It's like
by All Japan superstar Mayumi Ozaki.
Oh, of course.
And then special singles match: Yoshitatsu versus Super Sasadango Machine.
This is what we needed from this relationship.
This is this is the dark side of the DDT relationship.
Yeah, we don't want this in All Japan, do we?
No, this should be in DDT.
Yeah, if it was a DDT, it'd be fine, but we don't want this, because they have legions of goofy guys you could bring into All Japan if they want that, and I guess he's one of them. And it's Yoshitatsu. I mean, what if they just brought in some random guy to have a match with Yoshitatsu, like a regular match? That wouldn't be any good.
Random indie guy would be.
Yeah, that wouldn't be any good either. So,
and then
yeah.
So, and then of course, like the main event will be Kojima versus Yuma.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good match. You just have to hope that Yuma wins.
Yeah,
I've really enjoyed Yuma as champion, to be honest with you. I think he's done a great job ever since he's won the title.
I mean, you can never say never in this company, but
yeah,
I'm pretty confident that Yuma's winning.
It would go against logic if Kojima won.
Because it makes Yuma look bad.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like this really does damage to him if they do that.
And the thing is, if Kojima does win, I think it's like another quick reign. Obviously,
that's what I'm saying, and that's exactly what I'm saying.
As long as Nagata's.
Yeah, what's the end game with Kojima if he wins the title? Like that's
Kanto would be the only.
Exactly. Like so, there's really no purpose to it at this point in time. Yeah. It makes, to me, any way Yuma loses a title without wrestling Kento and hopefully beating him, in my opinion, is a complete waste of a title reign. In my opinion, like it makes no sense whatsoever. So I hope that they're smart.
Okay, I have one exception that I think would be acceptable.
Hit me with it.
Nakajima beats him for it, and then Kanto and Nakajima
rematch. I love that idea, and especially since what happened to Noah, he probably won't get the GHC title. So now,
so I looked at this up earlier. This is on September 3rd, and it starts 1 hour earlier than the Noah show. Nakajima has a match at like a 6-man tag on the Noah show at Osaka Edion, and Nagaoka is like 6.5 hours away from Osaka. So there's no Nakajima. Like I thought, okay, maybe Nakajima is going to challenge Yuma for Yoyogi. Well, I don't think it's going to happen on this show.
It has to be Kento.
At Yoyogi?
Yeah.
No, he's facing Anzai.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Honda.
Yeah. I mean, that's gutsy. I got to give him that.
You would think they would have flip-flopped it, right? Have Honda challenge here, then Kojima. Yeah. I like it, though.
Oh, yeah. They're being daring. I mean, they put T-Hawk and Shino in Yoda Ward.
And it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and plus, that's another thing. We haven't gotten to the end of Ashino's story as well. No. Like him recovering.
Well, I think he's still going to be out a while. He said something, I think, in a tweet that he didn't get surgery because he didn't want to deal with the metal plate in the arm.
Yeah.
Didn't want to be a Lex Luger.
You just threw away a money gimmick, Ashino. What are you doing? That could have been his equalizer.
And yeah, I mean, you take out the bigger guys with that.
Yeah, that would have been great if
I'm like, it could happen, but I don't think. I mean, Ashino's lifting weights though, apparently, so who knows? But I cannot say. When was that Champion Carnival final? May.
Yeah, May 4th.
4 months. Yeah. I don't know. I don't.
Why can't Yuma have the title until next year?
Oh,
until Ashino gets back. Like
I agree.
Yeah.
I just don't think Ashino is going to be back for this show. Is what I'm
saying. No. I'm just saying, in the grand scheme of the title, I think there's so much gas left in Yuma's tank that to end it now would be very foolish.
Oh, absolutely. And then so September 8th, Yoyogi National Gym number 2. We got Kairi and Saori Ano versus Unagi Sayaka and Sari. I mean, this should be great. Hopefully.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I guess it depends how hard Kyrie wants to work at this point.
is she going to protect herself from that trip over? How sad is it that her last booking is probably going to be with Glate in Japan?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because they announced it should be
hey,
Glate
look,
2 later.
This is all Bushi Road's fault, so you can blame them.
It is. You're right.
They don't.
This should be a good match, though. Sorry has been her match with Nakajima. I shouted out at the start of the show. You got to watch it. Amazing. Ano, love her run in 5-star right now. She's been one of the MVPs of the tournament. And her and Kyrie were a great team in the trios with Natsupoi as well.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think you're going to get some good stuff out of this match. And Sayaka will be a fun character to kind of be the center of this, add some insanity to this great wrestling, at least.
Masanobu Fuchi's return match. I didn't realize this until recently, but he was out with a detached retina.
Oh, wow.
Which seems like for a guy that's almost 70.
Yeah.
They should probably turn this into a Terry Funk Memorial match.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Literally.
Yeah. You got to put Onita in there. I'm sorry if it's a Terry Funk match. You do though.
Have cut the promo at the end.
Yeah,
basically the guy he stole his whole gimmick from that made him popular. The guy Onita stole his gimmick from.
Yeah. And then we got Naoki Tanizaki, Hokuto Mori versus Kotaro Suzuki, Keiichi Sato, and Mizada. Man. We've got
Mizada.
Yeah. T-Hawk, Al Lindemann, Shigehiro Irie, and Junji versus Koji Iwamoto, Takuya Nomura, Fuminori Abe, and Ryo Inoue. What a team.
Junji coming into All Japan. That's my Chinese wrestler right there.
Yeah.
You get there, who was not in OWE, no matter how many times people say that.
I keep missing that. I saw a bunch of OWE guys when they did that show in Toronto on SummerSlam weekend. And cool. I wish some of them would come back.
OWE was awesome. Let's just be honest.
Was it Gao Jingjia?
Yeah.
He was amazing. He was like ace potential type guy.
What about Bruce Lee 2000?
He was not on that show.
Oh, unfortunately. But yeah, those guys were really good. It's just unfortunate they kind of got caught up in all of that craziness in OWE. Shima's, scorched earth of OWE there. But
so hopefully Iwamoto returns, and look, I'm not going to deny that I didn't think he was getting stale at the end there, but the division has changed radically since he left, so I think it would be very helpful to the division if he did come back, even part-time.
A welcome return. I absolutely agree with you. I think he's got a lot more upside and more interesting matches now than he did when he left. Yeah. And he was always in a no man's land where it was like, you want him to move up, he wants to move up, but they don't want to move him up. So it's like he's kind of in this, like I said, no man's land pretty much, where they try to do the open weight deal and it just never went anywhere.
I liked his team with Honda. That was a fun little team.
Yeah, man, young Honda was freaking awesome. And so was the Iwamoto as well. Great team.
And then Kento Miyahara 15th anniversary debut match, Kento Miyahara versus Yuma Anzai. And then the big Evolution versus DDT 6-man tag team match that no one saw coming. Hikaru Sato, Dan Tamura, and Suwama versus Jun Akiyama, Yusuke Okada, and Shanshiro Takagi. I was hoping he was going to be Yuya Koroku or something.
Yeah.
Or even Tetsuya Endo.
Anybody would be better than him, but...
do you think Suwama pins Takagi? Why is he in this match?
That to me is the only logical explanation for him being there. Is that
that keeps a feud going because then Suwama pops up in DDT to feud. I just trying to figure this out.
Yeah, have him pin Takagi, have Akiyama run through the Evolution Junior guys, and then they build up to Akiyama and Suwama at a big All Japan show.
Well, I think ideally it's Akiyama versus Yuma.
Oh, well, yeah, that should be the end game. But will Suwama put his ego aside for business though, Gerard?
You could have Akiyama versus Suwama on the way.
Yeah,
but then
I'd be down for that.
Suwama's beaten Akiyama before.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't be super confident in that, but as my hopes are that Akiyama and because that gives you a fresh challenger for Yuma at the end of the day too, and you need those. He's going to run through the All Japan opponents pretty fast. at the end of the day, you need guys to stretch this reign out.
I mean, honestly, I would like to see Okada feud with the All Japan Juniors.
I've always loved Okada. It's unfortunate that they don't do anything with him there. Nor did they do anything with him in All Japan's original run. But from his very first match he saw, I thought this guy has ace level potential. Like the charisma he had, the way he carried himself, his wrestling was so great. I love that guy.
He's not really in a better position in DDT at all.
No,
like he's like the third guy in a faction headed by an older guy.
Yeah, that's like outstayed its welcome. Like, Akiyama in DDT doesn't mean what it did when he first got in there.
No.
And if you remember when Okada came in, they gave him a push right away, put him in there with Ueno.
That was a great match. Everyone was like, oh, it's his time finally.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, yes, this is what we needed. And then like immediately flatlined, like nothing more. And he's done nothing for the last 2 years since.
He should come home.
Please.
Or at least, for a bit.
Man, him versus Inoue, that's like my dream. This is more dream booking.
Oh, yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
So that is All Japan, the present and future. I'm very excited, actually, about what September will bring.
Yeah, me too. I like All Japan right now. They're like, to me, they're the company that I enjoy following the most, probably, right now. I mean, you look at Stardom.
I would say, it's not perfect, but they're definitely one of the better booked companies right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, there's not a lot that's exciting me in a lot of these companies, but with All Japan, I like what they're doing. You get double champion Yuma there.
I never thought they like. I know that you were concerned about Yuma at one point, but I never thought that they were going to go all in on as many young guys all at the same time.
Yeah, and I think Anzai coming in kind of flipped a switch for them almost. Like, hey, we have this guy who is our crown jewel. We need to surround him with guys, and I think that they've done a pretty decent job. And now that we're about to go into the N1, I think the world of Anzai. Like so much.
This might be a sweeping comment, but I think that this company, if Kento left tomorrow, would be in a much better position than anyone would have thought even like a year ago or 2-3 years ago.
1,000,000% agree with you. Just look at those names I said. Like if you could build your company around Yuma, Anzai, Honda, like great young talent, and you're throwing Kento in there. And, then you have guys like Ashino, surrounding player. It's like suddenly you've got guys that can carry the company now. You still obviously don't want to lose a star like Kento, but obviously we're not saying that. But we're just saying that there is much more like top potential depth than we ever could have imagined a year ago.
Yeah, I'm just incredibly paranoid given what's going on in the other companies that someone might steal him out of desperation.
Oh, I'm sure they wish that they would do that. They've probably already tried and probably are currently trying as we speak to do it. But
so I'll be pretty apprehensive. Like, I was paranoid that like Yuma and Asuki were going to leave last year. Well, just because it felt like and then Yuma made comments in the press and everything, but like All Japan needs to get its act together.
He was right.
Yeah,
and they are. Like,
I think Yuma's got some sway in the back.
And he should. Like,
he should.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could argue that if him and Atsuki left tomorrow, it would be a bigger blow long term than losing Kento.
Long term, yeah, I agree with that. And I think Aoyagi is one of my favorite talents as well. But back to Anzai, if he debuted in New Japan, like they wanted, like they tried to get him to do that, is he getting IWGP title shots 1 year in?
No.
Is he winning matches in the G1 1 year in?
No.
Is he having a focal point match with the ace of the company, like in a big show? Exactly. So
I will say this though, he'd probably be doing more than previous young lion classes, but they're doing that with everyone.
Yeah, they're trying more now, but even still, it pales in comparison to what he's doing. In All Japan. So it's like, they would want him to go on excursion. They would want to do that. They're trying to speed things up. I know that's a big point of emphasis for Obari. is to make their system a lot better for the young lions. But they
even All Japan sped up a bit. If you kind of look at where Inoue is,
yeah,
and Atsuki and Dan and Hokuto,
yeah,
they didn't move up super fast, but they probably moved up a little faster than like they would have 10 years ago.
Oh, I agree with that. And my kind of point is, I think that Anzai getting all of this is by design, because they know if he becomes disillusioned in any way,
yeah,
he will have people knocking on his door and saying, hey, maybe it'll be better on this side. Now with All Japan, no logical person can say, oh, actually, I would be more important to New Japan right now.
Well, I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, the money is ultimately the one thing it will come down to, though.
That's true.
All of these other companies have that All Japan doesn't.
That is true. Will they want to do that like that? Seems like something so different. And I'm not saying that it wouldn't happen, but that's so counter to how they usually do business that, I think that all I'll say is I think All Japan's been really smart with how they've used Anzai, and I think they're on a great path with him.
Yeah, for sure. So we go over to Noah N1, and we've got a lot to cover. So we can't go through every match. We're already at over 2 hours on this. But we've had a lot to talk about, and I figured it was going to go long. Okay, what are your overall thoughts on this tournament? I thought it started off very well, and I thought that it sort of, cruised along towards the end for a while, picked up at the end, and I would say that the floor was higher than the G1, but I don't think it quite hit some of those G1 highs, obviously. Like, you're not getting a Naito Ospreay or something like that. And I think that there were some good experiments in this and some just middling things that happened from experimenting. I can't call it like total bust, but I was not like super impressed or anything.
That kind of sums up my feelings on the tournament as a whole. I think it was a good tournament. There really was nothing outside of Huxley. I don't think there was any bad matches really between anybody. There was some that were, we'll get to some of the guys here. There was a couple of guys that were underwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
For the most part, everything was watchable. It was good. And kind of like what I said about Glate earlier, just turn your brain off. You'll get some good wrestling. And occasionally you'll get some really great wrestling. Like there was a couple of matches that I thought were really strong. But you're only looking at a handful of those that were like special that you could point to and be like that. For the most part, it was just solid to good wrestling. And I got to say, I don't come away from all of this feeling like I'm so excited for stories X, Y, and Z coming out of this tournament.
There aren't that many.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like it's not like they built a lot for the future coming out of this tournament. Overall, I think you had good matches. In the end, it kind of paid off for the Kawasaki show that had a great house. They started off really low, like early on, and they got better as time went along, pretty much as the tournament went along. And then I thought they had kind of turned a corner around the midway point, the show where they had Wagner get the win over Go in the main event, and you had Nakajima and Inaba, which I thought was a great match.
Yep.
I thought they had turned a corner, and then it's like, okay, we've done that cool stuff, and now we're going to give you 2 Jake Lee 30-minute draws in the main event.
Yeah, that's when I thought it started to drag a bit. And this was a long tournament.
Yeah, it's like 8 shows. Like it was all this was. It was like literally half of the G1 block play.
Yeah,
and so that's kind of where I'm at. Like it felt like they were turning a corner, and then things ground to a halt. And the last show, I thought the match at the end that I saw today was really strong with Soya and Go. It's just I don't know how the rest of the show went today. I didn't see it. I apologize for that.
I did. I really liked. That's fine because I didn't watch Go versus Soya.
Well, I thought it was a great match. Long story short.
Well, okay, we'll just start since it's today's show.
Yeah.
Soya versus Wagner, great match. Lots of huge near falls. You thought that Wagner had this, but then Soya kicked out of the Wagner driver.
Yeah. Let's just go through it. We'll talk about their tournaments on the way here.
And then Go versus Nakajima, not their best match, but it was like a good match. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. I can't
Kind of
call
interesting.
them going through the motions, but like this was not their best match. Obviously, it was like less than 15 minutes. Keno versus Jake Lee, probably Jake's best match of the tournament, honestly.
I could see that.
And Jake took a lot to take Jake down. Like he kicked out of the PFS, and then Keno used the moonsault knees off the top.
Okay.
Jack Morris versus Adam Brooks. Boring, even though I like Morris. Timothy Thatcher versus Masa Kitamiya. Kind of disappointing, given what I was expecting. Yuki Yoshioka, Yoshiki Inamura. Short. But the crowd really loved. This was a hot crowd, the whole show, actually. Not just the finals. Like from the very beginning. And then Saxon Huxley versus Yuma Anzai. They should have given Anzai another win. Okay, so everyone's tournament. Keno, one of the top guys in the tournament, absolutely.
Oh yeah,
The Inamura match. He had the Jake Lee's best match. Yeah, I mean, the match with Yoshioka is one of Yoshioka's best matches.
And he was great in it. I thought like he particularly was like, he really tried to drag that into being a great match. I thought he did as good of a job as you could have hoped.
Mm-hmm. And then, well, we go to Jake.
Him and Inamura was one of the best matches.
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely. Yeah. I love that match.
Yeah,
Jake Lee. Well, I'll give him that. He finished strong against Keno.
Okay, so I didn't like the draws, of course.
No, they were like 2.5 type.
Yeah, exactly. Like totally average. And his whole tournament was kind of middling, to be honest. I liked the opening night main event with Thatcher. I know
that was good. I like that one.
Yeah, like I like that, but the rest were like, I'll easily forget about them and never think about any of these matches again that he's had in this tournament. But much like I said a similar thing about Sonata in the G1. And if anybody who listens to the Eastern Lariat knows how I think of Sonata as a wrestler, but I like what they did with him. Like, even though I didn't love his run or his matches, I think it's so smart to book your champion strong like that.
Yeah, for sure.
It seems like this weird thing where it feels like we've lost our way over the years with the champions sometimes. And now we're getting back to it in all the companies pretty much. I feel like, you look at the Sonata undefeated in G1, Yuma double champion right now, Jake undefeated until the last match on the N1. So I really like that they're trying with him. Like, whatever failures there will be, it's not because because I know it's so easy to blame Noah and their terrible booking for everything. But with Jake, I think his entire run, they've done a really good job with him.
It's been booked correctly. It's just a matter of his performances sometimes.
Yeah, and I mean,
it got better. I mean, like all the way to that Segura match and everything.
Oh, the Segura match was awesome. I love that match. And like you said, that's something I noted when All Together was coming around, and why I thought he might have been one of the better champions was because every match got better than the last. From Kaito, that match wasn't that good. But then you had Nakajima. Then you had Marufuji, one of Marufuji's best matches in ages. Segura match was awesome. So I was kind of hyped for his tournament. And then you look at him, to me, he's like mid-tier dude in this tournament, ultimately. But I like what they did with him, and I'm going to give them a pass on that, even though I don't think he lived up to his title, unfortunately.
Jack Morris. Look, we are fans of Jack Morris at the Emerald Flow show. And I think he had some good matches. I think his match against Keno was good. I liked his match against Thatcher, but I think he needed to stand out more if this guy's going to be the Gaijin ace.
And this is going to be a problem we run in with a lot of guys, where I don't think a lot of matches in general are memorable in this tournament. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, you've got a handful.
They clearly like him. He finished third in this block.
I like him too. I think, look at him now compared to where he was last year when he made his debut in the tournament. And I think he's grown a lot, especially in his confidence. I think he's done a great job. And I like him in general, but I'm going through his tournament right now, and my ratings are 3.25, 3.25, 3. Like that's the sort of thing.
And then the Jake Lee draw.
Yeah, exactly. But overall, like a fine wrestler. Like overall, like I like him. I think he's a good.
But I would have liked to see him step up a little more than he did.
Yeah, and like I said, there's really nothing memorable about his
Yeah.
tournament. If I had to pick one, it would probably be the Keno match. Would be his best match.
I mean, I could apply some of the same comments that we had on Jack Morse to Yuki Yoshioka. I am not a Dragon Gate watcher, but I know the critiques from Dragon Gate watchers on
Oh
Yoshioka.
yeah,
And I mean, yeah, he's not the most charismatic guy. He had some good performance against Keno and stuff like that. I honestly didn't mind his match against Jake either, but
yeah. He was
again,
kind of good at that.
he did not step up.
And that's such a shame because I have been a Yoshioka defender during his title reign, but then you see him in this tournament, and it caused me to kind of reevaluate him and reevaluate Dragon Gate as a whole, kind of almost, because you see this guy. First of all, we do have to say too, I really loved. I said this on the Eastern Lariat. I'll say it again here. I loved the build up to this tournament from Noah, the YouTube videos, the interviews they had. I thought that was a phenomenal thing. That every tournament should do something like that and put that on their YouTube. And I thought they were so easy and so well done. And he mentioned in his that he wanted to show everybody the excitement of Dragon Gate in his YouTube video. And then you watch him and it's like he's perpetually in second gear in all of his matches, pretty much. Like I never felt if you want to see him in top form, look at last year, his match with Mochizuki. He was phenomenal in that match, and he felt like the ace of a company. But I said this, even I'm a fan of Dragon Gate. I do a show, Dramatic Dream Dragons, too, where I talk about it sometimes, along with DDT, but mostly Dragon Gate for me. But he was so great last year. This whole year at DG, he's been a background player. You look at his run, he has no matches really that are that memorable in Dragon Gate, outside of maybe when he lost the title at the start of the year in January to Shun, and that wasn't even that great of a match. So he was passed with at Kobe World, which is like their Wrestle Kingdom, Dragon Gate, their biggest show of the year. It was him versus Kikuta, who was kind of a guy in his same faction for the title, the Dream Gate title. And that match was like the ultimate 7 out of 10 match, pretty much. And it just feels like he's not motivated in general because he's basically been de-pushed to push Kikuta, who's the champion right now. And I also have a lot of questions about his champions, to be honest. But it just feels like he's not motivated, period, right now. And this entire tournament, again, compare him to Anzai, a rookie, who stood out more.
Yeah, Anzai.
Like clearly, like it's not even close. So that to me kind of made me second guess everything because I was actually a fan of his and I wanted to see how he would do in this tournament. One thing I like about him though, I liked that every match he used a different finish to win. I thought that's always something really cool. And I liked that he at least thought about it to that level. And none of them were his normal finisher, like the frog splash that he does in Dragon Gate. It was always the Inferno or the battle hook or a flash pin. So I liked the thinking he had, but the performances were like I said, I watched these matches. When this is done, I will forget about them and never think about any of this N1 run again.
Yeah, for sure. And then next up, Timothy Thatcher. I thought he had a sneaky good tournament. Like I thought his match against Keno, I really liked a lot. His match against Jake, I liked. Not everyone liked. It did go 22 minutes, but I still think it was pretty solid. Like his match against Kitami and Inamura, and he finished about where I expected. Like they protect him to an extent.
Yeah,
because they want him to like be an occasional challenger and get wins out of nowhere and make like maybe sometimes bigger names submit.
A fine performer. And I really enjoyed that Jake match. That to me, I haven't seen the Keno match yet, but to me, that was Jake's best match to that point. But my problem is compare him to Hideki last year, which was kind of what I thought his role would be.
Right.
And it's a lot less impressive, like overall. Like if you put him in the context of this tournament, I think he did a good job. Don't get me wrong, the best he could in the circumstances. But then I wanted him to be like Hideki last year, who was like the MVP of the tournament, and he works this very similar style, obviously. But I just don't think it ever came together to my personal expectations of it. But I still liked it; it was still good, and it's just not a lot there really grabbed me outside of the Jake match. And he was the Keno match too was a pretty good match as well, but it wasn't to me anything that I would say is like, oh, like compare that to Hideki and Fujita last year, or Hideki and Keno last year. Like it's a tough thing, because that we needed him to be that guy, and I don't think he reached that status, unfortunately. And I hate saying that because I love him so much, but
yeah, I mean, I still think he was in the top half of performers in this tournament.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And then Masa Kitamiya, again, nice little tournament for Kitamiya. I thought had some good performances. You know what, that 30-minute draw with Jake, I thought he worked pretty hard, even if the whole match didn't come together.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Nothing too super memorable, but like generally a solid guy that's become a very consistent guy that will deliver. And I thought maybe he'd finish a little higher.
To me, he wrestled like right to his level on the card, like a solid big power guy, and always wrestled with good energy. I liked what he brought to the table in all of his matches. He never like slowed things down or was super boring. He wasn't really having like classic level matches or anything like that, even in terms of like the time that he went. But I thought he always had a fun and explosive performance here and there. And then you had that match with Jake, which I agree, the match itself was not a lot of fun to watch, but he brought his best to it. He tried to make it work. But I was really disappointed in the match with Inamura, actually. That was a match I was really
looking forward. Disappointing.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be like a banger, and instead it was like, oh, this is like super mid-level, like like not at all what I wanted. So I will say that's kind of what I go away with him. But there's nothing in his tournament that I would point to as like a special match. But he did get pushed well, and he got to have a draw with the champion. So from that ends, it is a success where he would rank in the tournament. I would say of the people we've talked about, I would definitely say Thatcher has had a better run, and obviously Keno as well. Yeah, like Keno is the clubhouse leader of the people we've talked about so far.
Yeah. Adam Brooks, mid.
Oh, totally. Like nothing performer in this tournament. And what happened to him? He used to be like this, like upstart flyer guy. Like, and now he's a mechanic.
Well, I think one of the mistakes is that they didn't bring him in for a tour or two, at least for a warm up.
That would have helped. That's a great point on your part.
It's like the Anthony Green thing. I mean, I think Anthony Green would have been better than him in this tournament, especially at this point.
Yeah, I really wanted to like him, but it's just he brought literally nothing. Like his role could have been not just Green; it could have been performed by literally anybody on the roster. Like he's like a creator wrestler level heel, and I don't think he was even used to his strengths because, like I said, he used to be like a good prospect flyer dude, and now he's like generic foreign heel talent. And that's basically what I think about him. Like totally average, 5 out of 10 on everything. Yeah. And I've said this before. I hate the look. The pants are so bad. It's like I just don't know what he's trying to go for with this. It's not who I know him as.
He's like Dante Leon's older brother.
Somebody messaged me about this on Twitter, X, whatever. Yeah. And look at the side by side of Hammerstone when he was in Noah and him. And it's like twin brothers. It's like exactly the same almost. And it's like, what is this? Is this like stock foreigner gear? You come in and they just give you this crap. Mm-hmm. If you don't have your own gear, they will give you these pants to wear. It feels like. And he forgot his gear. Like we really have to blame the luggage department of whatever airline he used.
Yep.
Nothing player in the tournament. Totally, replaceable.
And then the final guy in A block A, Yoshiki Inamura. I don't even know where to begin with this. 0 points, the big goose egg. And he announced he's going on an excursion to Europe afterwards, even though he's 30 years old. I mean, he was one of the better performers in the tournament, no question.
That's the sad part.
Match against Keno. I liked him against Thatcher. Yep. I don't know. We've said it all before. What are they doing with this guy? Is he finally going to get his push when he comes back from this excursion? Or is this a Sonata excursion? Remember when Sonata went on excursion?
Yeah. To Canada or TNA?
When he was in Wrestle One.
To Canada or TNA? Yeah, I repeat.
Oh, that was TNA because when he
Yeah.
was in Canada, that's when the Wrestle One split happened.
Oh yeah,
TNA
okay.
was the
Was
I'm
after,
gonna,
yeah.
and he like comes back to Big Japan, and
And
then
he got kidnapped in
yeah,
TNA by James
yeah.
Storm. Yeah, I remember. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's just hope he doesn't go to TNA. I think is the first thing we have to hope for with Inamura. I mean, to me, I don't have any hope for him, to be honest with you. Like
No.
I have zero expectations for him. I think in 7 years we're gonna look at him like we do Kitamiya now. Like at Soya and those guys. Like that's where he's going to be at, like 7 or 8 years from now, I think.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong.
Well, I
Here's
mean,
the
if
thing.
he's at Manabusoya's level in 7 or 8 years, that's pretty good.
Just in terms of push, like to me, I think he's one of their absolute best wrestlers.
Oh, for
Like,
sure.
If it were up to me, he'd be a champion, right? Like he would be, like I said, there's an alternative reality where the main event of January 1st is Inamura has won the tournament and he's beating Kaito, who's at a strong title reign.
Yeah.
And Inamura is getting the torch passed his way.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
that, there's an alternative reality where we could have gotten there. But how can I have any faith in that? Like, he's never won a match in this company. He's not beaten anybody outside of young, rookie wrestlers in Noah.
Yeah.
Never, not one win in Noah. All this time. How long has he been there? 6 years?
5 or 6.
Yeah. Not a single win. Not even over anybody. And how can you do that?
Yeah.
How? What sense does this make? I don't understand it, but I love him. I think he's a great wrestler, like performer, the way he carries himself. I think he's better than those guys I said, Kitami and Soya. Like I take him over them right now, easy, in my opinion. But it's just that there's nothing to nothing to sink your teeth into as a fan, unfortunately. And even then, I'm really surprised that they did this. Like no wins. That's ridiculous to me. I never would have predicted that. Even for him, and I'm somebody I generally view things more. I'm more skeptical of any kind of push in general in wrestling, just because every time you look, you're getting burned, no matter who it is. You mentioned earlier, I was a little down on Yuba even last year after they dropped him out to Kento, and thankfully they've turned it around and done a lot of great things with him. Maybe if they want to, they can get there. But where's the evidence that they see anything in him ultimately?
Yeah. And then, so that's it. Block A. Block B, Go Shiozaki. Absolute one of the best in the tournament. Up there.
Yeah, MVP level player in the tournament. Yeah. What a great return to form for him, because I thought.
Yeah.
Well, I thought he struggled a little bit. Yeah. And I thought he struggled a little bit when he first came back.
Yeah.
Not that he was bad or anything, but just that he wasn't at the level you would expect for Go freaking Shiozaki.
Right.
Well, he wasn't that guy. But in this tournament, he's reestablished himself as like one of the best guys. What do you think of this kind of, attire change and everything going on with him? What do you think of this new look he's got going on?
I don't know. I mean, he's trying to like stand out. Whatever.
Yeah.
He's how many times has he changed his look over the years?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I remember when he came in, when he had the Goto look back in the old days.
When is he going to bring his mullet back?
That's what he's really been missing, in my opinion, is the mullet. I think that's the answer to everything. But now instead we've got the flower, although he abandoned it halfway through the tournament. Yeah. So is that a sign that he's lost his heart? He's like an edgy,
lost his smile.
Yeah, the new HBK of Noah right now. He's lost his smile. I mean,
the Heartbreak Kid is actually a good nickname for Go if you think about his career,
especially before his before 2020. Yeah, yes, it was a perfect name for him. I would say. But yeah, I think he's been one of the best guys. He deserves to be in the final, and I think that he delivered big against everybody, pretty much. I thought he did a great job in pretty much all of his matches. That match with Anzai, that was one of the best matches.
Oh, absolutely. And Wagner. Those are
that's exactly. Those two would probably be my two picks if I were pointing to matches that did stand out. a lot of them were him, and I think he did a fantastic job.
And then next, Manabu Soya coming in with the surprise playoff against Go. How was that match?
Oh, I thought it was really strong. Like I said, one of the better matches of the tournament once again. And I think in general, he's been one of the better, more standout guys. Again,
2023, the year of the Soya resurgence.
Soya Tour 23, baby. Let's go. I want to see this.
Great tag matches.
Yeah.
Great singles matches. Pinning Sonata.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. He's pop locked and dropped it, man. He is
very
just
underrated year.
Oh yeah, and I think a lot of people have gotten on board with him. Like I think that like a lot of people realize, hey, this guy's had a really strong year.
Yeah.
And deservingly so, because he has. Like you said, singles matches, tag team run, getting into playoffs. I think this is a great success story for him. Yeah. Even though he didn't get to the final, I think just making it to a playoff.
No one would have thought. Like if you thought, oh, Manabu Soya is in the N1, this is not what he would have finished point-wise.
Yeah. You think he's like fourth from the top, like fourth place, maybe
6
fifth
points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and instead they really respected him, and I thought he performed like they told him at the start of the tournament. Hey, you're going to be one of our main guys, and you're going to be in the playoff, and you're going to be the main event on the last night. So earn it. Yeah. And I think he did a great job.
And then Katsuhiko Nakajima, 8 points. Some good performances that match against Anzai. The match against Go, I mean, not their best match, but still like one of the better matches in the tournament, no question. I thought the match against Wagner was pretty good. Just overall good performance.
I thought the match versus Inaba was his best match.
I forgot.
Yeah, like that was a great match. I thought overall, and probably his best. But the match with Anzai was really good too. Wagner, like you said, all the guys you mentioned.
Yeah.
Soya was another standout match to me.
The
first
night.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Wasn't that the first match of the tournament or like second?
I think it was the first match.
Very low on the card, but it rocked.
Yeah, really weird because they had the opening match was like Stallion, Rogers, and Green, and those other guys, and then the first match of the tournament was Nakajima and Soya right here. How about that? Great match.
And then Hio to Dr. Wagner Jr. I mean, again, up there, one of the best performers. I'm also somewhat surprised that he wasn't put in the Soya role because they seem very high on him. The crowd loves him. He was getting some awesome heat. We talked about all his good matches already.
Yeah, with everybody else.
Yeah.
I saw. I do think that he started off a little bit slow, actually.
Yeah.
But when he beat Go, the switch was flipped pretty much. And the crowd was like you said, into him in all of his matches. I mean, he just did a great job of the crowd. And like you said, really
he does that like head twist thing. They love it.
Yeah, he's a really good performer. I agree with you that he probably would have been my pick for the playoff situation, but I think it worked out all right, especially watching the match. I think you'll agree after you watch it. But Wagner, no complaints with him at all. I think he totally lived up to his rep as one of the stronger performers and a great national champion. Yeah. A great secondary champion, which like none of the other companies really have ultimately, but he pulls it off great.
And then Lance Anoa'i at 8 points. They like him. Look, I don't think he was horrible or anything, but I don't think he was like great. But I was led to believe he would be worse than he was. A lot of people were really down on him.
I totally agree with you. It's clear that he was underrated coming into the tournament because,
I mean, MLW.
Yes, that is true. Yeah, that automatically, yes, the world may be watching, but that first match he had with Anzai, I thought was like a really strong match. I was so impressed by that, and it played into his strengths actually. Yeah, and that's, to me, I would bring him back.
Yes, I would too.
But I think the best use of him would be in Huxley's role, like in a tag team, because I think he's excellent on offense, but
big man with spectacular moves. That's your tag. That's a tag guy right there.
Exactly, and like poor on selling. So let him be the hot tag guy, come in like a house of fire, destroy everybody, do cool stuff, and be freaking awesome, and everyone will love him. And then you don't have to really subject him to where he has to kind of sell or anything like that, because there were some spots where when he faced a guy like Huxley, where you had to see that go even,
God.
and it was bad. Yeah. See, so put him in the tag, let him be the hot tag guy. I think somebody like he's hurt right now, but like him and Inaba.
Yeah.
Like Inaba could sell and do like the good work in the match, and then tag in Anawai for a big hot tag.
Yeah.
I think that there's money in a team like that.
Yeah.
I like him well above what I thought.
And then Saxon Huxley.
Well below what I thought, and I already had low expectations.
I kind of got annoyed that he beat Anzai in the last night.
I'm glad I didn't watch that. Do I have to watch that?
No.
Okay.
Anzai tried.
I know he did. I love Anzai.
They lose those tag titles soon. I don't know.
It's such a bad team. Like they don't fit together at all.
No, and it's a waste of Thatcher.
Oh, totally agree. I don't understand it. The thing is, it's all look. You know, he's big. He's got the beard. You want those over the top characters. You know, your berserkers, your Bruiser Brodies. Like I get it, but he's bad though. So ultimately, I don't. He to me was clearly like the low person of the whole tournament.
For sure.
Yeah.
Adam Brooks is competent, just like soulless.
Yeah, a fine wrestler who's so boring. But he's bad. Like Huxley, like I don't want to watch him at all.
No.
So yeah.
The thing is, I thought Huxley was looking a little better in tags lately, so I was like, well, let's see how.
Yeah.
But no, don't put him in singles.
If you want to do a tag team, put him with another wild guy. To me, like wreak havoc, like a Road Warriors, like Abdullah Brody type of team. Don't put him in there with Thatcher. Like, how does he fit in with this whole group of Rio?
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't make any sense to me. But who am I to question Noah's decisions?
And then Yuma Anzai, who we've already talked about a lot.
Love him.
I mean, this is a very important learning experience for him.
Oh, I can't say enough good things about how well he's performed, adjusted, taken on new people, like had matches with different people. Yeah. All of this was good. And listen,
having his first experience having to wrestle some like sluggish foreigner.
And succeeded like greatly in it. I thought he did a fantastic job in that Anawai match.
Oh, I meant Huxley.
I didn't watch that match, so
no. But I mean, whatever.
Yeah, and him versus Go to me, like I said before,
was
one of the best matches of the tournament. But something that really impressed me, this Noah crowd took to him like one of their own. Yep. Like he felt like the hometown hero in all of his matches almost, and I just love how they like. Nobody can deny. Like nobody can deny Anzai, even if you're a different company.
Yeah.
Like they wanted to rally behind him. I wish that the thing is, it's not like you can really blame him for not giving him a lot of big wins or anything like that.
I think he was going to actually beat Inaba.
Yeah, and that would have been something. He did beat Soya there to a great pop too when it happened.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have been around somehow, like even if it was through draws or something like that. I wish that he could have been around on the last night at least. I really thought highly of his tournament, even though he's, people will talk about his age and experience, but I'm talking about skills. He's one of the best guys in this whole tournament. So I really was so impressed by him. And every step of the way, I've been impressed by his run, whether it's with the Champion Carnival, the title match versus Nagata. I was like the highest man on earth on that match, I think. I loved that match a lot. But he continues
his
to
match
impress.
With Kento, I'm very looking forward to because he's going to bring what he learned in the N1.
Oh, I would love to see that. I think it would be cool if he like hit the vertical spike, like a Nakajima move of some sort. Yeah. I guess so, like you use something like that, and that could kind of be something that you could bring in there. But yeah, sky's the limit. Everybody knows it. But I just want to put it out there how great he really was. Never mind his experience level or whatever. I thought he was one of the standout players.
And then finally, unfortunately, Daiki Inaba was injured with vertigo. Probably sounds like maybe a concussion.
Yeah.
He had one of the best matches of the tournament with Nakajima, and what was the other? Oh my god, I'm drawing a blank. He had another good match, or was it? do you have a match against Soya? I totally drawing a blank.
Yeah, he did. He beat
Yeah.
Soya.
Yes, that's right. Yes, I like that match too. So it's really unfortunate that he got injured.
Yeah, and I mean, the matches against Soya and Nakajima were both really great, and
Yeah.
especially the match with Nakajima, he showed a level of fire I don't think we've seen from him yet.
Yeah.
I love that match so much because of the way they set it up, where it was like, they basically sold Nakajima, like you were saying on the commentary with Stu. They were like, Nakajima, he's knocked out people, he's dangerous, and then Inaba was like, not today. It's like, we're fighting, like you ain't knocking me out. I'm gonna knock you out, and they just had a fight. And then Nakajima put the extra hot sauce at the end on the vertical spike. I thought was really good. I've always liked him though. I've always been a fan of his. I thought he was massively underrated, just because he never really got any chances in Noah. But I liked him in Wrestle 1. I thought he was a good worker. Really from the beginning. Like he was been a great rookie for them and grew into a good worker. I really liked the idea of him and Kaito as a tag team actually when he came in, because I felt they were like really kind of similar. They never really went too far. They had like a very brief moment.
And of course, we got the nice Kitamiya and Inaba tag team that didn't last long enough.
And they had a really strong tag title run too earlier this year too. So I was happy. It's like, okay, hey, we're doing something with these guys finally. And then it's like, okay, we're not doing that anymore. They lost the title, so let's break the team up. Well, who wants successful stuff in our show? Put it back in the second match. But I thought he really showed a lot here. It's unfortunate that he had the injury, but it's just tough. I mean, it's hard to predict the futures of too many people in the company with how they are. Because like you said, they had something going with that tag team and just broke it up for literally no reason. So I don't know. I don't have high expectations for his future, but I really like him as a worker. I think he's underrated. I'm happy that more people have seen that this year.
Okay, and so we got this coming weekend, the N1 Victory Finals at Osaka Edion Arena. We've got Muhammad Yone and Yu Owada versus Kai Fujimura and Taishi Ozawa. I have not watched all the Yu Owada matches just because I haven't had the time to.
Yeah.
Hayata and Ada versus Yohei and Tadasuke. You can figure out what there. Miyuki Takase, Maya Yukihi, and Natsu Sumari versus Yu, Hiroyu Matsumoto, and Hibiscus Me. I feel like there's a good match in there somewhere.
Hey, listen. Hibiscus Me, another Taka trainee. Back in the K Dojo days.
El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. and Lance Anoa'i versus Adam Brooks and Stallion Rogers. Honestly, Anoa'i and Wagner, that's a good tag team.
That's another good, like, if you just let Wagner do the work and hot tag Anoa'i when you need a big guy to wreck stuff, I'm into that.
Katsuhiko Nakajima, Hajime Ohara, and Junta Miyawaki versus Manabu Soya, Shuji Kondo, and Seki Yoshioka.
We know Yoshioka's taking the fall in that match, unfortunately.
Or Junta.
Oh yeah, another one in the doghouse. Will he ever escape at the point? Or will
the legendary four-way Noah Jr. match.
Okay.
Ninja Mac versus Dragon Bane versus Alpha Wolf versus Alejandro.
Well, we know that luchadors cannot wrestle Noah guys except for Alejandro.
Yeah. And then Jake Lee, Jack Morrison, Anthony Green versus Saxon Huxley, Timothy Thatcher, and Hideki Suzuki, which could be a tag title setup.
Why wasn't Hideki in the tournament?
Well, look, I respect the idea of getting all like young guys in there, but it didn't actually turn out as well in practice as it could have.
Yeah.
For the GHC Junior Heavyweight Tag Team title, Chris Ridgway and Daga versus Atsushi Katoge and Hiroki. I actually thought the finals of that little tournament they did for the next contenders of Tadasuke and Yohei versus Katoge and Hiroki was actually pretty good. That was on one of the Korakuen Hall shows during the tournament. The Yoshiki Inamura send-off match. Naomichi Marufuji, Takashi Sugera, Masa Kitamiya versus Yoshiki Inamura, Yuki Yoshioka, and Yuma Anzai. Who's taking the fall?
You know who's taking the fall. The one going away.
GHC Martial Arts Rules. Masakatsu Funaki versus Josh Barnett. This could be fun.
I like it on paper. I mean, I have a lot of respect for Barnett, personally.
I mean, Barnett's pretty good whenever he wrestles these days in Bloodsport.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's pretty much it.
Match and
Yeah, he's always a good dude to have. And Funaki's up and down, but I think this could be one of those things where it's good, or it could be one of those things where it's like 4 or 5 minutes and we get out.
I think it's got to be 10 minutes tops.
I think so. I think you're right, but I could see this being kind of like, a goodwill gesture to Funaki and a nice payday and a nice spotlight for them, and maybe not a lot more. I mean, where do you go with either one of these two?
Nowhere. Funaki had overstayed his welcome as national champion.
Oh yeah, that really drug out. But I like it. For me, I could see myself enjoying this, but I wouldn't expect a match of the year.
Special tag match: Kaito Kiyomi and Ryohei Oiwa versus the reuniting Zack Sabre Jr. and Yoshinori Ogawa. I mean, I think this could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like Oiwa. So, Oiwa, Kaito, interesting teams.
I still think it slightly makes Kaito look like a geek.
It does.
To be like a young lion guy.
And he's kind of like, this match is going to be spotlighted around Oiwa.
Yeah.
So, where do they go with Kaito?
I don't even want to think about it.
Nothing but pain is walking down this path. I nearly took.
I don't even know, but I think this Oiwa thing might last a bit.
I think so too.
And then for the N1 Victory Finals, Keno versus Go Shiozaki. I think Go wins.
Yeah, I agree.
Go beats Jake, and then Keno beats Go on. Well, it's not New Year's this year. It's January 2nd at Ariake.
Yeah, you're right.
Because look, I think. Well, okay, this sounds corny, but you got to finish the story with Go. And have him win its tournament in Noah, singles tournament in Noah. I think Go deserves another singles title run, but the thing is, you can't earmark a year-long reign for Go because you don't know how long his body's gonna last.
That's true.
And Keno is so hot right now that you got to get that title onto Keno too. I mean, Keno could win this and beat Jake, but the thing is, Keno just beat Jake, so I feel like that's anticlimactic.
I really have no clue what their plan is for January 2nd, because there's really no logical options that are appealing, to be honest with you, at the moment. The only thing I could think of, which is something I would hate, and why I was against all of this, why reunite Axis just to have him go on a singles run?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the one thing.
Some photo books, I don't know.
And that's the real truth of it. That's really the only reason why. But from a story perspective, I kind of hate this.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm really having a hard time.
They can't even win the tag.
Yeah, they haven't even accomplished their goal as a team yet.
Yeah,
and he's already going for the title. So it's tough. And like you said, if Keno wins, it just feels like, where do you go? So then he beats Jake, who faces Keno on January 2nd.
Yeah,
there's no good options, so it's like, I'm with you ultimately. I think Go is going to win. I don't know if Keno faces him again at January 2nd, but that seems like for how they book. Remember last year, they did a very similar thing where Kaito beat Keno and then Keno challenged Kaito.
There's not a lot of options. I think you just run this match back.
I think so too. The only other thing I was thinking is if they want to split up Go and Nakajima already again and run that playbook again, but it's so soon. Why do it? I still think Nakajima is earmarked for another Kento match somewhere. Me too. I predicted that he would win. I thought Nakajima would win the tournament, and you could build to him and Kento in the future.
Right.
But they've gone away from that. We go, and maybe they could still set that up again if they want to break up Axis so soon. I don't know why they would do any of this. But like you said, there just really isn't any good options no matter what happens. I think that they're going to really have to work hard to pull something out.
Yeah.
And I think the logical answer is exactly what you said. Go wins here, and they build to another Keno and Go match, which I'm sure this match is going to be phenomenal. Keno and Go. I really liked their match in June. Yeah. They had, and that actually did over 1,000 in Corcoran on its own with them as the main event, which is rare for Noah. So I think that they have something with these two. Like you said, though, a big question with Go going forward is how long can he last at this rate? We just have to hope for the best, and I think they're hoping for the best, but I don't blame them for turning to him. I blame them for reuniting Axis and then immediately floundering that story.
Well, yeah, because, Go versus Nakajima is something they could have.
Yeah, that's something that should have been. Yeah, exactly. That should have been built to for another year of them as a team together, and then you get to this point. But I don't know. But I agree with you ultimately. They go win the tournament. Should be a great match too.
Oh, I absolutely think so. Probably the match of the tournament. So that is Pro Wrestling Noah. And that's after almost 3 hours or about 3 hours, our show. So Dylan, thank you so much for coming on, and you got your plugs.
I was trying to get us to challenge the flagship in length. I don't know if we did it, but I tried. We had a lot to talk about too, like you said. Very happy. First and foremost, thank you so much for having me on, Gerard. I really appreciate it. As always. Yeah. I had a lot of fun talking to you about this. We got to do this again, either here or I'll have you on my show at some point.
Definitely.
Too. Always wanted you on. You always slip through my fingers right now. But check out my other show, the Eastern Lariat. It's been around for so many years, still going strong. Stronger than ever in a lot of ways, actually. Thank you to all the listeners out there. If you guys recognize me, I hope you enjoyed my appearance here. And if you want to hear more of me, check out the Eastern Lariat on Twitter at Eastern Lariat. We always talk about everything in Japanese wrestling. As I said, we've been doing it for years now. Me and Striga from Cage Match are on there, and we cover everything: Noah, New Japan, All Japan. I try to get him to watch Joshi sometimes, but it's it's up and down. But right now he's into the tournament at Stardom too, so you get that as well. Check out my other show, Wrestle Update. That is a show also on Cage Match on YouTube. We have all the links there. When you go to cagematch.net on the front page, on my Twitter too, we plug it. It's a show about AEW, WWE. Nello actually got me to watch GCW recently too. So we're gonna find
which one? Oh, like
Homecoming,
the Freedoms guys.
Yeah, Homecoming. And listen, I can never completely hate any show with Rina Yamashita on it, but it is GCW as well, so we have to keep that in mind overall. But that's something nobody expected, and we pulled it out there. We're talking about All In AEW. Sandre was at the show, a special guest who was live in the Wembley Stadium there. Lucha Talk did a recent episode about. You want to talk about GCW? The horrendous Triple Mania show that was.
I heard, yes. I usually watch Triple Mania, but I didn't bother after hearing all this.
And you were the smarter one to not watch it overall. Go there, check out the Patreon for the Eastern Lariat, patreon.com/Eastern Lariat. Follow me at Twitter at Viva_0. Tribute to my favorite Joshi wrestler, Ray. We're coming up on the anniversary of her death in just a couple of days. So rest in peace to her. And Dramatic Dream Dragons, I said, 5-Star Network. We talk about Dragon Gate and DDT. We did an interview with Ho Ho Loon the other day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we got to meet up again with him. He was so excited to talk to me, and I was so excited too, especially because Yannick tried to make it seem like Ho big timed me on the show. But when he got on the show, he was so friendly and cool, and he was like, "Oh man, I remember talking to you before." And I was like, "Yeah," like back in the old days, we're kind of crazy. But a very cool guy Ho is, and we'll do some more cool stuff in the future as well on there. So it's a very interesting project. Lots of stuff going on in my world, in the world of wrestling, Japan, all across the globe. It's the thing I love the most, and very happy to be on here, and hopefully we can do it again very soon.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dylan. All right. So we will be back after the N1 finals and after the big show in Nagaoka on the 3rd, and we'll recover that. And Paul will be back, and maybe I'll get him to give us a all-in report, although that might be dead issue by then, and I'm not trying to sit through listening to that about that show. So everyone take care, and we'll see you in about a week or so. Bye.
Hello there, my name's Neil David, and I'm the host of Eurograps Express, the podcast exclusively dedicated to the wrestling of Europe. If it's wrestling and it happens in Europe and it's good, we talk about it. Whether it's Rev Pro, Progress, WXW, Passion Pro, Pro Wrestling Chaos, Pro Wrestling North, we don't care, we talk about them all. If it's good and it's exciting, I want to share it with you. We're on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Check us out on the feed, check us out on Twitter at EuroGrapsEXP, and join us for chat about European wrestling and a little bit of chat about cheese. Hopefully see you there.
Music. It's not just part of our daily lives, it's part of our wrestling fandom as well, and it has been for decades. That's where this show comes in. Music of the Mat, the podcast devoted exclusively to the music of pro wrestling. hosted by Andrew Rich. Hey, that's me. Each episode delivers a different topic with a variety of great guests, fun conversations, musical analysis, and of course, a heartfelt pun or two. New episodes drop every other Tuesday on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcast app of choice. Check out Music of the Mat only on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.